going to come out and have a Philip Forsberg type of season and say, see, I showed you. This is why you've got to pay me. Because he's going to have 1,600 yards and 14 touchdowns and 109 catches. Right?
Maybe. Hopefully.
In this offense?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see.
Be nice.
I don't know. That'll do it. We had a lot of fun here at Hermitage Golf Course. Great event around stars. Have a great rest of your Monday. We look forward to talking to you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. We shall see you then.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
If you're shopping for a new home, the last thing you want is another surprise jump in mortgage rates. Hey, Willie Donick here, excited to tell you about Loan Pronto's all-new rate protection program. You get a rate quote that is locked in for 180 days, 6 whole months. Brian and Amy did it. They locked in an APR in the 3s with Loan Pronto. When they finally found a home a month later, rates had jumped into the 4s, but they were protected thanks to Loan Pronto, and they saved over $200 a month on their payment. With Loan Pronto's rate protection guarantee, you can make offers with confidence. And there's no fee for this, no upfront cost. And most home buyers who go with Loan Pronto save about $3,000 in closing costs. Call now for the all-new rate protection program so you can check rate increases off the list of things to worry about. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. That's 615-499-5780. 499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval.
At Copper Branch, they live life to the fullest. Food is your energy and your life. Located in the heart of downtown Nashville, their goal is to serve you, your friends, and family quality, great-tasting, plant-based power foods. Visit Copper Branch at 601 Church Street for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with convenient and validated parking during library hours, and download their app for curbside pickup. Or come out for songwriter and live music nights several times throughout the week to empower, energize, and feel your best. Visit Copper Branch today.
Zines First is the official sign company for 1025 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. Be a part of the conversation. Call or text The Game at 615-737-1025.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving. ESPN 1025. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Caroline Fenton is here today. Hello, Caroline.
Hello, how we doing?
Outstanding. Ian Safar is here today. Hello, Ian.
What up, what up?
What up is that your hockey team lost 2 games over the weekend, Ian. That is what's up.
Is that a surprise?
You know what's funny? I was prepared for Ian to say what up, and that was going to be my what up back to Ian. So I'm going to say this. To your question, I think that's a good question, Ian. Was that a surprise? Was it a surprise to you?
Unfortunately, no, it was not.
Ian, was it a surprise to you?
Not really.
Okay. So I'm going to start on this. And I always think about, like, trends in life. Like, what is something that just happens? Like, there's, like, good luck things, and all of a sudden you look at it and you go, wow, that just happened. The Chicago Bulls with Michael Jordan lost Game 2 at home to the Charlotte Hornets with B.J. Armstrong and Vlade Divac and all these guys that are okay, Glenn Rice, but it ain't Jordan and Pippen. And you're like, that's a one-game thing. That's not a trend. That's a one-game thing. Michael killed him in Game 3, Game 4, and ended it in Game 5. But in Game 2, B.J. Armstrong hit the shot, looked over at the bench, screamed at Phil, and boy, that really got under Michael's skin. I watch these NBA playoffs now. It's not an accident that the Boston Celtics are up 3-0 over KD and Kyrie. Not an accident. That's a trend. So the Predators, since they played Florida at the beginning of the month, and I'll give credit to a lot of the people out there in Boohoo Land that were sitting there saying, oh, my God, look at all the teams they got to play down the stretch to make the playoffs. How are they going to do it? And I told you I wasn't worried. I said they'll make the playoffs. I've never moved off that. Back me up on that.
True.
Since the Florida game, which was, 3 weeks ago now?
I think so.
Since the Florida game, the Predators are 1-4-2 against teams that are going to make the playoffs. Now, they beat San Jose in overtime. They beat Chicago by a goal. And they beat Calgary, albeit on the back end of a back-to-back at home with a backup goalie in a shootout, but they did win. But they're 1-4-2 in 7 games against teams that are going to make the playoffs. That one win, again, was against a backup goalie on the back end of a back-to-back at home in a shootout, which you never get to play in the playoffs. That's not a trend. This is who they are. Here's the reality of the situation. I thought last night was a good example of this. I don't think Minnesota's a great team. In fact, I think the St. Louis Blues are going to knock them out in the first round. Wouldn't surprise me if the Blues knock them out in 5 or 6 games. I think the Blues are a tougher team. I think they're a more experienced team. And quite frankly, I think they're a better team. I think Minnesota is comfortably into the playoffs because they've got a great coach in Dean Evison, who happened to be the coach at Milwaukee when the Predators were bringing up all these guys, whether it was Pontus Aberg or Freddie Gaudreau or Colton Sissons or whomever. All these guys were coming up from Milwaukee and making a huge impact, and Dean Evison was the coach there, and now he's the coach in Minnesota. And all these guys that couldn't get their heads out of their rear ends here, Hartman and Fiala and Gaudreau, and all these guys now are over there, and they seem to be having a great season. But I just don't think they're an overly talented team. So I think they're going to get knocked out in the first round. That Minnesota team that you played last night. But again, this is not a trend. This is a trend. This is not an aberration. It wasn't. We can look at like one individual play from last night. Now, I heard the morning show today talking about a goalie interference call that wasn't called. They challenged. They didn't get it. Then I don't know what David Riddick was thinking when he cross-checked the guy. But now you're in a 5-on-3. And we can break down individual plays from last night. If this didn't happen, then the Predators would have won. If that had happened, then the Predators would have won, which is a classic example of Eric Dickerson's almost winning philosophy. In the playoffs, nobody cares about almost winning. Last year, the Predators almost won 4 games. They almost won Game 2 against Carolina, which they didn't. They almost won Game 5, which they didn't. They almost won Game 6. They almost won that series. But they didn't, and nobody cares about it. But I look back to Saturday's game. I think that's more indicative of reality. That's a playoff team.
Tampa is a really good team.
That is, like, when we're talking playoffs and talking legitimate contenders, they're up there. The Penguins, who you've lost to in this stretch, they're probably not that good. Minnesota, I told you, I think they're going to lose in the first round. And you still lost to them. Calgary, I'm not convinced about Calgary. They're going to have to go through that side of they're going to have to go through Edmonton with McDavid and Draisaitl, which Edmonton happens to find a way every year to lose in the playoffs. I don't know how. It's like Peyton Manning before he finally won a Super Bowl. I don't know how they keep doing it, but this year I think they're going to win some. I'm telling you, Colorado, who the Predators will end the season with, probably won't play everybody, but Colorado is so much better than the Predators right now. That Tampa team the other night was so much better. They could have played the entire game 5-on-4 and still probably would have won. And that was with the starting goalie in there, with plenty of rest because you didn't play from Tuesday until Saturday. And the Predators just aren't very good. The trends are the same. Is it not the same every game? Like, does it not feel in this period? Now, take the bad teams out. Chicago, San Jose, take them out. The games feel the exact same. Predators, they drop the puck. Predators are excited to win. Chris Mason and Willie on TV tell you all the reasons they're going to win. They drop the puck, and then all of a sudden, immediately, so like 2 minutes in, 4 minutes in, 6 minutes in, penalty on the Predators. Here comes a guy. Nashville, 24, 2 minutes, high sticking. They show the replay. Yeah, right there. McCarron got that high stick in there, and he shouldn't have done it. And okay, there you go. 2 minutes high sticking. Let's see if the Predators can kill it off. Pass over here, pass up there, pass in there, pass there, guy backdoor, goal, 1-0 other team. Am I wrong?
It's too many penalties.
It's right away.
Turnovers.
It's penalty.
Poor defense. It's
penalty.
not a very good penalty kill.
Immediately penalty, 1-0 other team.
Yeah.
Every freaking time.
The penalty kill is incredibly frustrating.
It's all frustrating, but that especially. And so, again, like I'm saying, these are not trends. So here's the reality. And we'll take your phones. But here's the reality. The Predators are going to make the playoffs. I think Money Puck gives them a 98.5% chance of making it. Yesterday, the Predators, by getting a point, actually increased their odds of making the playoffs. They are going to make the playoffs. They will probably win tomorrow night because they really need to. They will definitely win Thursday night, and they will make the playoffs. And Vegas will probably, they lost to San Jose last night. They'll probably do you some favors, and it wouldn't surprise me if Dallas does you some favors too, and you still end up in fourth place or whatever. But the Predators are going to make the playoffs. We don't need to worry about them making the playoffs. We don't need to be concerned about them making the playoffs. If you're somebody who only cares about making the playoffs, then you will be happy at the end of this season because they will make the playoffs. But it doesn't feel like they're going to be able to do anything when they get in. And I just think that this sample size is too large. It's one thing to look at a game where they lose to Florida 4-1, but it was really a 2-1 game. And Roman Josi misses a wide-open net with 5 minutes to go. It's easy to look at that game and say, well, if Josi connects on the empty net, 5 minutes left to go in the game, it's 2-2, and then who knows, and then you got an overtime. Okay. But then you lose in overtime the next day to the Penguins. Then you beat San Jose on a guaranteed victory, which, boy, came right down to the wire. And I'm not guaranteeing anything anymore with the Predators. But a guaranteed victory in that San Jose game. Then you go back, and I keep forgetting like all the different, playoff teams they played, but they get out there against Edmonton, and Edmonton just immediately, Nashville, 53, 2 minutes high sticking. Here he goes, up to the penalty kill. Go, Leon Draisaitl. You lose. Then it's like, all right, now we need to see a response. You lose. All right, we need to see it. You lose. All right, here come the Chicago Blackhawks. You win against the Blackhawks. Barely, but you win. And it's like, this is who they are. I mean, I don't think there's any it feels very cut and dry to me. It feels very like watching the games, going to the games. When you play the bad teams, you have to do everything in your power to win by the skin of your bum. And when you play the good teams like Tampa, like Edmonton, like St. Louis, 7 goals in a period, I mean, it's the same. It's the same. And so, this is going to sound crazy, but there's two different sides of the aisle of how, there's making the playoffs, and then there's competing in the playoffs, and they're going to make the playoffs, and I'm not convinced they're going to compete in the playoffs. And that's where I am after this weekend. That's where it is. And I honestly don't know how you can debate that. I don't know if you're, one of these just die-hard fans, how you can debate that this team can compete in the playoffs against a Calgary or a Colorado. And don't think that difference doesn't matter, because if it's Colorado, I mean, like, it's over. And I think that's the disheartening part of this. It's like, do we even root for them to make the playoffs at this point? Because,
well, yes.
Why?
Because it's the playoffs, and if you had to choose, if it was a binary decision between them making the playoffs and not making the playoffs, you would want them to make the playoffs. Even though it does feel a little bit bleak once they are in the playoffs, I think we can all kind of predict the outcome there, whether it's 4 games, 5 games, 6 games, whatever it might be. The way that this team is playing is kind of uninspiring.
So why would you root for them to make the playoffs?
Because then we get a playoff series.
Right, but if you don't make the playoffs, you get some ping pong balls.
That is fair.
And I don't know anything about this draft, and I'm not going to learn until it's time to start learning about it, which, if they make the playoffs, will be never. But if they get ping pong balls, then we need to learn about it. But that's how, like, disappointed I am right now. I mean, I was watching the game the other day with my dad, Saturday night, and I want to say it was when Tampa scored their first goal or their second goal, or I can't remember. And you'll have to remember, I'm a Predators fan. Like, as hard as I get on them, and I do think that I'm, like, pretty objective when it comes to analyzing, are they good, are they bad, whatever. Like, I'm a fan. I'm a season ticket holder. I'm a fan. And I forget which goal it was, but I turned to him at one point. We're watching the game, and I'm like, we stink. You know what I mean? They stink.
I wouldn't say that they stink.
They stink.
They can't compete with the best teams in the NHL.
No.
And
they can't compete with any good teams in the NHL. 1, 4, and 2.
It's not good. Like,
overtime with San Jose.
Yeah, it's not great.
So
it's not great.
That's where they are. 615-737-1025. They're going to make the playoffs. There is no worry about making the playoffs. Compete in the playoffs? Don't see it happening. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Now, criticizing the coach. This is much bigger than one decision or one night in which he played David Riddick as opposed to not playing him last week. It's a much bigger. And I'm wondering if the results are starting to tabulate themselves in on John Hines. We'll get to that coming up next because I've got a theory that I'm starting to see. I want to discuss. We'll do that next. 615-737-1025. We're starting today on the Preds. They lose both games last night in overtime. They played hard. But again, they lost last night in overtime. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I love my friends at Hiller. They do a fantastic job. I cannot tell you how great they are. That's right. Hiller is the best. And they're giving away free vacations for you and your family this month. With every purchase of a new whole home generator or select new HVAC systems, Hiller is giving you a free week-long vacation. And with every purchase of a new tankless water heater, they're going to give you a free weekend vacation, and they're going to give you a Visa Rewards card to help pay for your gas to get you there. Choose from over 400 Marriott, Wyndham, Hilton, or Hyatt hotel properties and take advantage of this unbelievable deal while you can because these deals are only available for a limited time, so make sure to schedule today. Visit happyhiller.com for all of the details. As always, Happy You'll Beer, the service is free. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Every Wednesday at 5, join us for Jared versus Joe as they debate all of the big topics in sports, presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Mayweather Boxing and Fitness on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Pro Golf is back in Middle Tennessee. Mark your calendars for the Simmons Bank Open, May 5th through 8th. You can see the next wave of PGA Tour stars. Be sure to visit the Sand Trap at the 14th hole and check out great local food trucks, including Hattie B's, Hogwood Barbecue, Dream Burger, Padrino Pops, cocktails from Jack Daniels, and try the Sand Trap Cream Ale from New Heights Brewing Company. Purchase your tickets now at SimmonsBankOpen.com.
Hey, it's Jared for TriStar Moving. If you're looking to move, you need to give my friends at TriStar Moving a call. At TriStar Moving, you'll get 5-star service throughout the entire process. Everything will be taken care of, from covering your floors, banisters, railings, front door thresholds, furniture, TVs, and more. They took great care of my move and made it as stress-free as possible. If you're looking to move, give TriStar Moving a call, 615-640-1219, or visit them at nashvillemoving.org/radio and get 5% off your entire move. TriStar Moving, my official movers.
Erectile dysfunction ruins sex, but it's more than that. It harms otherwise good relationships. It destroys marriages. It can cause depression and anxiety, and it can be extremely hard on a man's self-esteem. This is Kim for the Tennessee Men's Clinic, and if you're suffering with ED, if it's affecting you, I want you to know that if you're like most men, we can treat it and get you back to the man you used to be. At the Tennessee Men's Clinic, we're ED experts. Our protocols have success rates as high as 90%. We've successfully treated thousands of men in the Music City, and we have a variety of treatment options and treatment combinations that could have you performing like you haven't in years. You could even last up to an hour and experience great sex again that is satisfying for both you and your partner. In treating your health, expertise matters, so make an appointment today. Your initial appointment is only $99 and includes blood work and a medical consult. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatments extra. Results vary.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur with words from another happy payroll customer.
What you have done for me to make my life so much easier is you take that fear away from me that I'm doing something wrong with the payroll. Thank you so much for your software. I don't know what I would have done without it.
Visit us at patriotsoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll free. That's patriotsoftware.com.
With patriotsoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
He wins that battle, and now the puck passed in down the middle, and the shot and the score. Kulikov broke in, got the loose puck, and the Wild win in overtime, 5-4.
Yeah, it was a lot. I mean, I thought both teams battled hard. There was a lot of emotion in the game, a lot of special teams in the game. I think a lot of momentum swings, but I thought our guys, really battled hard tonight, and we earned a point. We'd like to get 2 points, but we got to take some things out of it and be ready for Calgary.
We wanted 2 points. We got a point. What did Eric Dickerson say?
We don't want to almost win.
We don't want to almost win. We want to win. I will say this about the Predators, John. We can go back to last night's game, and we can do all the, if this doesn't happen, or if that happened, or why did that happen, or whatever. And I'm not, to me, last night's game is not indicative of anything other than they lost another game to a team that's going to make the playoffs. Now, I don't know what Philip Forsberg was doing in overtime on that last play, but whatever. Here's the bigger thing. Here's the reality of the situation that I think is why the Predators are where they are, which is why I have so little optimism about them going into the playoffs that they will, in fact, make. And it goes back to something that Ian said maybe a year and a half ago, and something that Crispy has said many times on this show, and just kind of all putting it together. And so Crispy said when he was coaching at the end of the season, he would take the calendar and he would color squares in on the calendar and he would make them pink. And you know why he'd make them pink?
Why?
Because that was a day that everybody took off. That you are not allowed at the rink on this day because you need to go take off, relax, rest, take care of your business, stay away. And he would add more at the end of the season because, he didn't want to wear the guys out. They were putting enough pressure on themselves. They were doing all kinds of stuff. This weekend, yesterday on Sunday, was the first day that I had off in probably 3 weeks.
And it probably felt great.
Well, I made it a pink day. I decided I was going to do nothing that I didn't want to do. So everything I did yesterday was what I wanted to do.
Good.
Except for the fact that I did break my toe.
Well, we didn't plan that.
We did not plan the breaking my toe on the boat, but that did happen. But the reason I say this, Ian, I don't know if you remember this, but you said something a couple of months, maybe a year and a half ago. And you were talking about Hines. And how often does Hines talk about, mental toughness and mentality and identity?
Every single press conference.
Right. So what he wants them to do is to play hard for 60 minutes every game, and he wants them to forecheck, and he wants them to do all this stuff. And, Ian, you said, and I don't know if it was on the air, off the air, or both, but you were like, can you do this for 82 games? Do you remember that?
You mean just that style?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I know what you're alluding to.
Yeah. Can you play with that mentality for 82 games? And I think the answer is no.
I think that's what we've learned.
And I think the other truth to this is he's run Saros into the ground. Saros is starting all these games way more than all the other goalies, and can he handle
double
it?
From last year.
And you got to remember, last year was a shortened schedule. Saros got hurt. And who was the backup last year?
Pekka.
And people forget that last year Saros didn't start off great. And midway through that short season, Pekka was the starter. I mean, it went from Saros is the starter, Pekka's the backup, to 1A, 1B, and Pekka was legitimately starting, and Saros got hurt, and Pekka was the one. People forget, when they turned the season around, Pekka was in net. And you and I both know, we all know, that if Pekka Rinne was on this team this year, Saros wouldn't have started 60 however many games he would have started because they'd be playing Pekka a lot more. But they don't have Pekka anymore. And that was kind of one of the big questions. I mean, Laviolette learned in his first year, he ran Pekka into the ground. And they got into the playoffs, and they played Chicago, and Pekka was terrible. I mean, they had a 3-0 lead in game one, and they lost. And when you got a goalie like Pekka Rinne, you don't lose when you're up 3-0 in the playoffs. And so Peter realized that. Carter Hutton played more, and UC Saros played more, and Pekka still, carried the load, but like they learned their lesson there. The way Hines wants this team to play, I don't think is feasible at the NHL level. I don't think it's feasible to go to guys and say, I need you to give me 100%, 82 games. And I need you forechecking every game. I need you and not to expect a fall off in their play. And I was talking to somebody today about this, and I was contrasting it with Edmonton. And I was saying, in Edmonton, one of the things that they do, and this is just how I feel, like Edmonton, they show up to the rink, and it's like, all right, the big boys are either going to do it for us or they're not going to do it for us. Mm-hmm. But they've got the talent to be able to get on the ice and just go skate at whatever speed they want to skate at, and that's what they're capable of doing. This team, it's like everybody has to buy in all the time. Everybody has to give it their run. And so the good players are all having great seasons because they're playing hard all the time. But there's only so much of that you can do, where sometimes you got to let guys that take some games off, and you got to let – but the Predators can't do that anymore because they got to make the playoffs. And so when I was talking to somebody today, and they gave me the excuse of, the team's tired. And I'm like, have they played any less games or more games than the other teams? And the person said to me, no, but it's different. It's a different style. And so I appreciate John Hines from the standpoint of he wants to get everybody going at 100% every game. When fans pay tickets to go to the game, they want to see everybody out there give it 100%. This is not the NBA where we're okay with guys, taking off the season and showing up for the playoffs, for the most part. But you just look at the team. They play hard every game. They played hard last night. But the goalie stinks right now.
Because he's exhausted.
I mean, he's looking at one the other night, the second goal Tampa Bay scored. He's looking right at it.
Well, and he's not really getting a ton of support from the defenses either.
And those guys kind of stink. But I got to tell you, like, this is the difference between what was going on in December and January and what's going on now. The goalie. That's the difference. The goalie was lights out, but they ran him into the ground. And so the goalie ain't got it. And if the goalie ain't got it, you're not winning anything in the playoffs. And so I think that this year, to me, is the referendum that the John Hines, everybody plays with great effort all the time, forecheck, outwork the other team. That doesn't work in pro sports. And I didn't think it was going to work in the NHL, but now that we've given it a chance, it doesn't work.
And I think you can even look at the contrast of a couple of games. Let's say the Minnesota Wild game from a month or so ago and the Wild game from Sunday night. I mean, that first Wild game, and it wasn't the first one in the series, but the first one that I'm talking about, they out-physicaled Minnesota every single play of the game, and that's how they won that game. They were just relentless and physical. And you look at the game last night, they didn't bring that same level of intensity. They didn't bring that same level of physicality. And that was exactly the reason why they lost last night, was the exact same reason why they beat Minnesota earlier in the season. And that's because they just weren't physical enough. And it's not there anymore.
I thought the reason that they lost last night was because they took some dumb penalties and because
the penalties are a problem.
David Riddick is not, a starting caliber goalie.
Well, he's not the starting goalie.
No, he's not.
But you have to give Saros a breather.
No, he had to play. I'm not against Hines for making that decision.
No.
Hines made the right call. But this goes back to there's two things from the philosophy. One, you can't play Saros as much as you have. Like, you can't do it. You cannot do that. And two, I think these guys, this style doesn't work for 82 games. I have a buddy that played in the major leagues, and he told me one time that one of his biggest regrets is that for the small amount of time that he was in the big leagues and in AAA, and he was like, I was doing everything I could. I was drinking water with lemon everywhere I went. I was drinking a gallon of water a day. I was going to bed early. I wasn't staying out late partying with the guys. I wasn't. And he goes, there's just guys in baseball that will walk into the clubhouse 2 hours before first pitch or whenever the players are supposed to show up, and guys will walk into the clubhouse hungover as crap from the night before, downing like a McDonald's Egg McMuffin before a 1 o'clock first pitch, and the guy will go out there and go 3 for 4 with 2 homers. He's like, and those guys are just special. And in pro sports, the special guys are who you have to have, and you got to understand, like, the idea of Michael Jordan, who played hard every game for 82 games every season and dominated in the playoffs, or Tom Brady, or those guys, that's why they're the greatest players ever. They're not. That is very rare. But to take a guy like Colton Sissons and say, hey, I'm just using him as an example. I want you to play your hardest every single game. I want you to play. I want you to just give it all out. That is so taxing physically and mentally. And in pro sports, what's going to happen is you're going to wear down a guy like Colton Sissons, and then you're going to get to the playoffs, and Colton Sissons is going to be matched up against somebody who is like way better than he is, and he's going to be at 80% of a guy who's better than him, and you have no chance to compete in that case.
But what's the alternative there? Just don't play 100%?
I think the alternative to it is you got to find a way to motivate the good players, but also understand that you can't push them down the ice on every single play. You can't have them forecheck the way that Hines wants them to forecheck every night. You can't tell them that the most important thing is that every night you stay in their rear ends all the time. It's like basketball. Would you full court press every game?
No.
If it was going to wear your team out?
No.
That's what it is. Would you go no huddle in football every day? Would you practice with pads on every day in football because we got to be tough? Or would you be like, nah, Derrick Henry needs to take the hits in the game. Derrick doesn't need to take them in practice.
There's a little bit of give and take there.
And that's what I think we're looking at. That's just my opinion of what we're looking at when it comes to Hines and this. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. I'm sure a lot of people want to weigh in, so we'll get to your phones on it, 615-737-1025. And I have a little bit of a feeling that something that we've heard a lot lately, we're not hearing now. And I actually think that it's good that we're not hearing it. I'll explain what that is coming up next. FanDuel Sportsbook is my official sportsbook app. The playoffs are rolling on, and you can make every game feel like Game 7 on the FanDuel Sportsbook app, an official partner of the NBA. Throughout all the playoffs, all customers can place a no-sweat same-game parlay each week. You'll get up to $20 in free bets if you do not win. FanDuel has so many ways to play, and best of all, when you do win, you'll get paid faster than a fast break. New to FanDuel Sportsbook, just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with the promo code JGM to get your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Once again, that's promo code JGM. And if you already have an account, you're all set to bet. No sweat. Either way, you'll get up to $20 in free bets if your same-game parlay during the playoffs doesn't win. FanDuel Sportsbook is an official partner of the NBA, and I would say this, I think Boston goes for the kill tonight. And what an embarrassment for KD and Kyrie, which I spent a lot of time talking about this weekend. What an embarrassment. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max free bet is $20 per week. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Want the latest on the Predators from the people that cover them?
Heck of a year so far for the Predators. They've been so much fun to watch.
Join Robby Stanley for Preds Insiders every Monday at 6.
I feel probably as good about this group of 6 on D.
Presented by Dr. Kelly Rice on Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
At Mitchell's Mr. Transmission, we also offer free towing with any major repairs. If your vehicle has a breakdown and you should need any type towing, towing is available through Dad's Towing Service. Dad's is a professional towing company in Nashville that provides all types towing and recovery, 24 hours a day.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. Being arrested doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. Being served with custody paperwork doesn't have to be the worst day of your life. It may feel that way, but if you have Amanda J. Gentry representing you, you can feel confident that you're going to have the best quality representation in all of Middle Tennessee. Amanda J. Gentry goes wherever justice demands. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Do I need Medicare when I turn 65, or can I wait?
With more than 70 years of experience helping Tennesseans, Farm Bureau Health Plans can answer all your questions about Medicare.
Part A, B, C, D, it's all alphabet soup to me.
So if you're looking for an affordable way to cover the gaps left by Medicare or protection from the high cost of prescription drugs, you can plan on us to make it easy. Find out more at fbhp.com. Farm Bureau Health Plans. Plan on us.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Penne Pazza in L&L Market in West Nashville. Penne Pazza is Nashville's best and most authentic Italian restaurant, serving farm-to-table pasta dishes, signature pizzas, salads, and more in their open kitchen concept. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get half off a $30 gift card to Penne Pazza while supplies last. That's theGameNashville.com/deals. Penne Pazza, crazy good Italian cuisine.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Roman Yossi. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game.
What do you think Saros is at this point, heading into this last week? I feel like this little rest will be beneficial to him.
Yeah, I certainly do. I think he's, he's in a really good place. I think the fact that we, went with David tonight, we have a couple days here to rest and regroup, and I think that's good for Juice. And now we got 3 left, and he should be ready to go.
There you go. That's John Hines on David Riddick getting the start last night, which I don't have a problem with. And the rest factor for Saros, which I'm fine with.
I think we would all agree that Saros had some much-earned rest last night.
But, can I tell you what I thought was kind of stupid?
Putting in Riddick at the end of the Tampa Bay game. Yeah.
What the hell?
I don't understand.
That was so stupid, right? Like, unless you were like, hey, let's take him down now so that, he can be ready for tomorrow. But if we're going to play the other guy tomorrow.
Unless it was like, okay, let's get Riddick, let him knock the rust off at the end of this game. So that way when he comes in against Minnesota, he's not going to be, he's going to have at least some legs underneath him. But I thought at that point, just leave Saros in to finish the game and put Riddick in net against Minnesota.
I thought that was so ridiculous. I will say this. The one thing that I've heard from a lot of Preds fans over the years that I'm not hearing right now is, hey, Jared, if we get into the playoffs, anything can happen in the NHL playoffs. We know that. We saw 2017 8 seed to the cup. We saw, and I don't hear that this year. At least I don't hear that unless you're just screening it from the text line, or I just don't hear that same level of anything can happen, let anything happen, Jared. I think I kind of hear a lot of,
I think I'll compare and contrast to last season, for example. The Predators had this late, half of the season push that I think gave a lot of people confidence that, okay, this team has turned around. This team has turned a new leaf. This team has been able to scratch and claw their way back into a playoff position. So once they're in the playoffs, anything could happen because they turned this season around. But I think that this season we have enough of a sample size to be able to figure out, okay, the Predators can beat X, Y, and Z teams.
Or is it the other way around?
What do you mean?
Well, the stinkage came at the beginning of last year.
Yes, and
then the
stinkage is
turnaround
coming
was at the end of the
kind
year.
of at the second half.
Right.
Yeah, that may be the case where, a lot of Predators fans were very optimistic, earlier in the season, and now we've seen them drop some games that they shouldn't have dropped or kept games close that they shouldn't keep close, give up 7 goals in a single period against the St. Louis Blues. So I think that, it's all a factor of recency bias, that last season they had this late half push. This season, we see a little bit of fatigue in the second half of the season that doesn't give people as much optimism about the playoffs as maybe they had in the 2021 season.
I think also, how many years in a row can you use hey, anything can happen in the playoffs? Yeah. Because 2019 was a first-round exit, 2020 was a bubble exit, last year was a first-round exit, and this year, 1, 4, and 2 in their last 7 games against teams that are going to make the playoffs.
And I think also goaltending might play a role in that as well.
Well, the goaltending's been terrible.
Saros got hot in the late half of last season, and everyone was saying, well, Jordan Bennington did it in 2019, so Saros can do it this year because he has been lights out. He's been electric.
Do you think Pekka would be the goalie right now if this were the same situation as last year and Saros were playing as poorly as he is right now? Do you think that they would make the full-on switch and Rinne would be the starter?
Probably. But also, if Pekka Rinne was the backup, I don't think that Saros would have played, started as many games.
Sure, it's quite the paradox,
wouldn't
right?
have had this much fatigue late in the season. I lean yes, just because, we've seen what Saros can do, and what he's doing now isn't even close to that level.
Oh, he's stinking it up.
But if Pekka was the backup, they'd be splitting.
What was the stat they were talking about this morning? I think Pekka or Saros in his last however many games has an .875 save percentage. You know that, if you're below 9, you stink.
That's bad.
Yeah, you're terrible if it's below 9. And it's 875. Woof. What do we have in our text line? 615-737-1025. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Neil texts in and says, I agree with Saros. He looks worn out. But Hines has done some good things. Yossi's having a career year. Forsberg and Duchesne are 40-goal scorers. Power play is good, but this team makes too many penalties every game.
Here's the thing. If we want to go over the good things John Hines has done, it almost feels empty. It feels hollow to sit there and say, Philip Forsberg, 40 goals. Matt Duchesne, 41 goals. Roman Josi, the first defenseman with 100 points since 1996. It's just great. And you still kind of stink.
And I think that's even more frustrating to be okay, well, the Predators have 2 40-goal scorers this season.
And you still kind of stink.
And you're still pushing for the playoffs. That is a good thing. But if all things considered, it's frustrating.
The other thing, too, about, Hines and going through, him and everything else, and deep down inside, I don't feel like the reality on Hines, keep him, let him go, extend him, pick up his option, whatever. I don't think that the decision is really rooted in him or his style, which I don't think works, and I would go get another coach just if it were about him. But I believe that it's more tied to whatever they end up doing with David. So if they decide, because David is not young, so it's not like they're going to, David's going to do this for 10 more years. Mm-hmm. So if they get knocked out in the first round this year, then they probably look at David okay, either next year's your last year or – get it turned around, or there's going to be something. And if that's the case, then you keep Hines because you're not going to go hire another coach while David is still here. At least that's what I would say. But one of my things on Hines is, going back to – I look at it and I'm all those games that Hal talked about a couple weeks ago, if they had beaten Seattle, they lost to them, both home and away. If they had beaten some of these bad teams that they lost to, then we would be talking about the Predators in second place, and the Predators would already be in the playoffs. And so all of this, they're tired now, and they need some rest, and they need to back off it a little bit. They wouldn't have to worry about it because they would be resting right now. They'd be able to play David Riddick last Sunday against St. Louis. And they'd be able to play David Riddick 2 out of the 3 games this week and not give one rat's poop because it's they're already in. But instead, they're not in because they lost those games they should have won, and now they're in this spot. And again, this is not the National Hockey League of trying to almost win. This is Nashville. We want to win. We don't want to almost win. We don't want to have excuses for why we didn't win. We want to win. And that's how I feel about it. That's just, when we can sit there and say, hey, look at the good things Hines has done. Here's what Hines has done. And I think it's so much simpler than going through each line item of the P&L and saying, well, that's good, check coach. That's bad, check coach. What Hines has done is he has gotten the guys who didn't want to be pushed every game to push themselves every game. It is not an accident that Matt Duchene has 41 goals. It is not an accident that Roman Josi is going to win the Norris Trophy for 2 out of the last 3 years and that he's setting records every night, it feels like. It is not an accident that those things are happening. But the style doesn't. At some point, the players have to motivate themselves. The style does not work over 82 games for you to maintain the same level of play. You're just pushing them too hard. And Saros is the perfect example of that. Saros isn't trying to let pucks that are right in front of him go in the net. They just happen to be doing so because he's been run into the ground. And we can use Derrick Henry as an example. We talked all year last year about, are all these carries ever going to catch up to Derrick Henry? And I don't think breaking your foot, as somebody who broke a toe yesterday, I don't think breaking your foot is indicative of a heavy workload. But that would have been the big discussion, right? If Derrick had run for 2,000 yards again and the Titans had gone on to win the Super Bowl, then we'd say, it works. But, this is where they are with the Predators, this style, this mentality, this identity. I don't think it works over 82 games. And I think now that we're, in the 70s, I think we're starting to see that it's not that they're tired, that they're exhausted, that they're – and so to me, it's
and every team at this point in the season is tired and exhausted and injured.
But they don't play as hard as the Predators.
And that's the thing. Is
but
the Predators
again,
win games when they play hard.
It goes back to the good. I mean, I think Hines has motivated this team. The bad, I think he's done a terrible job developing the young players. And I also think that this style doesn't work. That's how I feel about it. We're back to your phones on the Preds next. 615-737-1025. Preds fans, join us for Smashville Live this Wednesday on 1025 The Game. Smashville Live airs on Wednesdays during the Preds season from 6 to 7, featuring Preds players, former players, and other special guests. You can watch the show via 1025 The Game's Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Be sure to join us for Smashville Live, brought to you by New Amsterdam Vodka, Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, and Red Spirits and Wine in Bellevue.
Join ESPN 1025 The Game for the Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament. Benefiting Folds of Honor on May 16th at Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with the athletes, musicians, and other local celebrities. The Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament. Sign up at theGameNashville.com/golf.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Scattered showers and thunderstorms will continue this afternoon and into this evening, but this evening and overnight we'll see most of these showers clearing into East Tennessee.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Hey, what's going on? Chase McCabe here to tell you about Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine. Dr. Rice, is it true that according to the American Dental Association, roughly 80% of people in the U.S. have some form of gum disease?
That's right, but our non-surgical periodontal therapy is painless and effective in keeping your mouth healthy. And the mouth is the window to the health of the rest of the body.
I know you have some different things that you offer. What else can you tell us?
Well, first, who doesn't want whiter teeth? Our new Zoom LED whitening system is less sensitive, and you get more than 5 shades of whitening. And we just upgraded both our lasers to kill bacteria during your cleaning.
What about taking care of cold sores some people may have, which can become painful? Can lasers help with that too?
Yes, the gentle laser setting will kill the virus in your cold sores all naturally while reducing the healing time by half. And our special soft tissue wand uses warm, light laser therapy to give instant relief to severe TMJ pain. Our approach to holistic dentistry is unique.
Give Dr. Kelly Rice Family Cosmetic and Dental Sleep Medicine a call today at 615-373-4488 or visit kellyerice.com. You'll certainly be glad you did.
Don't miss the historic opening of Geodis Park on May 1st as Nashville SC comes home for the first time of the 2022 season. Become a season ticket member starting at only $357 to ensure you are there for the big day. Come on in and grab a seat at NashvilleSC.com/22ticks.
If you've got a yard, you may plan on digging in it. Like to build an addition, put in a pool, or bury your pirate booty. But you should know that throughout the country, there may be pipelines buried underground. And if you hit one, you've got trouble. Sorry. So before you dig, call 811 to have any buried pipelines located and marked at no charge. For more tips on pipeline safety, visit pipesafety.org. A message from the Tennessee Gas Association, Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
Hey, is this line secure?
Franco's cybersecurity firm secured a contract, and that's all we're allowed to say.
We have a green light on hiring.
He needs web security professionals with a military background.
3 teams of 4, 24-hour rotations, but Protocol Zulu is on a need-to-know basis.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from the Indeed dashboard, so you can stay organized and connected all the way to the hire. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McCabe, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have 2 choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Inside knowledge on the Titans.
Todd Downey's got his notepad out right now, just writing things down.
Inside knowledge on the Predators.
They can go right into the forecheck, and boom, you get a beautiful goal from Colton Sissons.
And then there's a team in Knoxville.
How excited should Tennessee fans be by what they've seen from Josh Heupel in year 1?
Wake up and hang out with Robby and Rexrode. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10. Brought to you by Little Guys Movers on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and The Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
This is Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
Giving the puck to Fiala. He comes over. Stick handles now into the slot. Backhander, he scored! Kevin Fiala makes the Predators pay in the last 23 seconds of the second period.
Kevin Fiala last night stuck it to the Predators. When you trade a young player who hasn't realized their potential, oftentimes that never is a problem. Like, you trade the young guy who hasn't realized his potential because he'll never realize that potential. But when you give up on a young player and they realize their potential, they love to stick it to you.
That's a big old middle finger.
They love, as much as Joe Rexrode can argue that it doesn't matter that Ryan Tannehill was playing the team that gave up on him last year. Oh, how's that going to make him any better? I mean,
it's just like a natural human instinct. You didn't believe in me, so I'm going to show you.
So I'm going to be more focused and more dedicated and more everything. And Fiala stuck it right up the Preds keister last night. And that's hard to watch. And it's hard to watch. You know, I've always said this, when guys leave you and go play better elsewhere consistently, that becomes very frustrating. What do we have on our phone line? 615-737-1025.
Craig texts in and says, this is the same Predators that we've seen for the last 3 years. Comes out good in the beginning of the season, has a big slump in the middle of the season, then goes on this amazing roll and comes down to the wire at the end. Playoffs out by the first round. I'm just not excited to see them in the postseason because they won't skate past
So
the first
here's
round.
where I disagree with all that. I mean, I agree with most of it. Here's where I disagree with it, though. The slumping is now.
Yeah.
Like in 2020, 2019-2020, they got off to a great start. Then they cratered. Then they fired Laviolette. Then they were up and down. Then COVID hit. Last year, they were awful. Then they were good. Then they got beaten in the playoffs. This year, they were good. Then they were kind of so-and-so.
Zig and zag and zig
now
and zag.
Now they're not playing very well.
Mm-hmm.
So this is different than the previous years. This is different than when they finished, I think, 8-2-0 in the last 10 games at the end of 2019 to win the division before they played Dallas and then got smoked by Dallas. This is different. But the point is well taken that at some point, we used to talk about this all the time. Adam Vingan, back when he used to analyze the Predators much more consistently than he does now, Adam Vingan used to always talk about the fact that the Predators went to the Cup final that they first round in 2015, second round, Game 7 in 2016, Cup final in 2017, second round in 2018, first round in 2019, not even the first round 2020. Like, it was a consistent decline. Well, what is it now when it's first round, bubble, first round, and it doesn't feel like you have much of a shot going into that? Like, then what is it? And that's where I feel like we are with the Predators right now. Maybe the Predators will shock all of us in the playoffs and win a series. but I'm not buying it.
I heard Joe Rexrode saying that today. It's like compared to March Madness, there's always that fringe team that just barely makes it into the tournament, and they can make some sort of run. And St. Peter's, for example, they make some sort of miraculous run, and they stun everybody. But I just don't necessarily see that being the case.
No, you're like the Philadelphia Eagles this year with Jalen Hurts. Like, that team was never going to Tampa Bay and beating the Buccaneers.
No.
Like, they were never. Or like the Steelers going to Kansas City. That team was never going to beat the Chiefs. Never. I mean, they had just lost like a month before in Kansas City, like 40-0. Mm-hmm. So now they're going to come back and they're going to beat them? Of course not. What's next?
Another texter texts in and says, Hines thinks he can physically beat every team. He's not putting players in and out of the lineup depending on the type of team they're up against. McCarron should not be playing against the Edmontons, the Tampa Bay type of teams. He's too slow.
Dude, McCarron sucks.
He's not great.
McCarron sucks.
He's a penalty machine.
Matt Luff sucks. Most of the defensemen outside of Yossi suck. I mean, they're playing a lot of crappy players. I will say this, though, about Matt Luff. I do want to give a shout-out where I feel like a shout-out is due. I don't know if you guys saw this on Saturday night. Did you see Steven Stamkos when Stamkos, basically cross-checked him in the back, and he turned around and he stood his ground on Stamkos?
Yes.
I'll give him credit for that.
And that's not easy to do against the caliber of player of Steven Stamkos.
And if you don't do that to Steven Stamkos, then he's going to think you're a punk.
Walk
and
all
he's not
over
going to
you.
care about you.
Right.
And so I do give Matt Luff credit there. But they're playing a lot of guys who stink. I mean, and I'll say this. I mean, the Cody Glass thing. We all know that Cody Glass isn't very good. We all know that it was a salary dump with Ryan Ellis, and they tried to sell us on the fact that Glass was going to turn it around, and, they thought they got some guys that weren't playing very well, but these guys will play well, and then we learned very quickly that's just not true. They got rid of Philip Myers. They don't really play Glass. Then Glass comes back up. They talk about he earned it. He's back. And now he's not in there anymore. They sent him back. Why? I mean, if you think the guy's got potential, that you're trying to sell us on this bad deal that didn't work out, and you're saying, well, he's got potential. He was the number 7 pick in the draft. And you're doing all of this. I mean, give the man a freaking chance. And I thought Cody Glass was fine. I mean, I didn't think that he was horrible. I didn't think he was any worse than the guys they had in there. I think the texter makes an excellent point, where I do feel like a lot of these are not matchup driven, but we got to play with this mentality. And I just don't think that works. What's next?
Colton texts in and says, so your logic is to root against the Predators because they won't do anything in the playoffs.
I asked the question if we should. And I didn't ask it like a topic, of like, should we root against the Predators? Let's take your call. I wasn't doing that. I'm just like, the pure inevitability of what it feels like we're watching and the inevitability of how I feel about the leadership of the hockey operations and organization, that gives me pause of wanting them to go to the playoffs to get smoked by Calgary. I mean, and it's all about standards, right? So if they make the playoffs and they get smoked in the first round, which the 1-4-2 record over the last 7 games against playoff teams is so incredibly discouraging, especially how lopsided some of those games were. Saturday was an ass kicking. And so
it was rough.
When you factor that in, it's like if they made the first round of the playoffs, got lost, and the ownership was still mad about it, and I don't know if they are or they aren't. I don't talk to ownership. But if they were mad about it and then decided to make changes, then yeah, make the playoffs. But if it's just going to be like, business as usual, got our hockey revenue, moving on next year, David, go get them, I'm not sure that you're going to get any better doing that. And that's probably my problem with all of this. And if you lose and you don't make the playoffs, then everybody in town's going to lose their marbles, which they should, but everybody in town's going to lose their marbles, and you're going to get a lottery pick out of it. And in the lottery, you're probably not going to get the number 1 overall pick, but maybe, stranger things, I guess, really haven't happened. But, something could happen, and then this could be the thing, like the wake-up call that wakes up everybody, that makes them realize it's time for a fresh set of eyes and a new style of hockey to be played with this organization. And that's really what I think is the big. If everybody's happy with just making the playoffs, that's fine. If they make the playoffs and the mentality of the organization is the Robert Kraft, we haven't won a playoff game in 3 years. If that's how the ownership feels, if they get smoked in the first round of the playoffs by Colorado, and they're sitting there saying, we don't want a playoff series in 4 years, then I'm cool with it. But if it's, we made the playoffs, then I'm like, well, what's the alternative? Because last year,
and what more?
It was
What's next?
very obvious last year that everybody was just happy about making the playoffs. And I am not happy about making the playoffs this year if it is a dead end. You walk into the playoffs, get smoked, nothing changes. Well, then what are we doing here? 615-737-1025 is the phone number, 615-737-1025 here on the program. Coming up next, this is a very sad time of the year for me. We don't have our GM, obviously, anymore to give us all the great insight. But Bill Polian has his take on A.J. Brown. And I found it to be very, very interesting and what his opinion would mean for the Titans come Thursday. Explain. That's next. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The voice of reason.
No, you blew it. That's what happened. It didn't slip away. You blew it.
The voice of the fan.
The officials had let that game get out of control before anything got thrown.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Victory Award-winning New Amsterdam Vodka knows all about it, but in life, it's not always so clear. So New Amsterdam Vodka believes that in life, you've got to find your own wins. You've got to overcome your fears, go all in, even when you've got nothing at all. Find your wins. And when you do, raise that glass of New Amsterdam Vodka in victory. You've earned it. New Amsterdam Spirits Company, Modesto, California.
What if you could be debt-free in 3 weeks? Hey, Willie Donick here. My friends at Loan Pronto are helping people do it every day. It's Loan Pronto's debt consolidation home refi, wiping out tens of thousands in credit card debt. Listen, your home's value is way up. You can refinance now, take money out to pay off all your credit cards, eliminate PMI charges, pay off personal loans, or other high-interest debt. One local couple had over $50,000 in credit card debt. Loan Pronto did a debt consolidation refi. And even though their mortgage rate went up a tad, they cut their monthly payments by $900. Why pay 20% interest when you can consolidate it to one low payment with a mortgage APR in the threes? Homeowners who do it save an average of $800 a month. Do it now and even skip your next house payment altogether. That's what I call financial freedom. Call Loan Pronto now. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval.
The Ainsworth Nashville has been bringing a sophisticated twist to the classic All-American Sports Bar, restaurant, and private event experience in Midtown since 2018. Our multi-purpose venue consists of a full-scale restaurant, bar and lounge, and event space. Come for the wings, stay for our happy hour, and visit us for brunch on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We've got the good times to keep you singing all night long. The Ainsworth Nashville. Burgers, cocktails, sports.
Visit the Ainsworth at 206 21st Avenue South in Nashville or online at theainsworth.com.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McCabe, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
You're the one who protects the flock, and that requires an eye for detail. Because when safety and well-being are on the line, it's the details that can save lives. Even when no one else is watching, you see everything. Grainger gets you, and we're here for you, and all the ones who get it done with a wide range of safety products and solutions, plus board-certified safety consultants here to answer your questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting 97.5 Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County,
ESPN
102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Karen Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The Game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the losses of Amanda Gentry. Live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. The NFL Draft is 4 days away. We are going to be freaking loaded with draft coverage. We'll have our draft show. It'll be me. It'll be TD. It'll be Chris Sanders. It'll be D. Mace. And I guarantee it, they are all going to conspire together to get me as worked up as possible.
Oh, Chris Sanders has been talking about this for months.
I'm sure he has.
About how we can get you as irritated as possible.
Well, the Titans have been doing a pretty good job over the last couple of years, and I'd like people to know that I have been right. Now, I want to start with this because I miss our GM very much. And this is a very tough time of the year for me because of all, like, I used to just love this time of year because every day this week, we literally could do segments of like, GM, what do you have to do right now on Monday before the draft? And then you just let them talk for 20 minutes and then, all right, let's take your phones. And obviously we don't have that anymore. But I was listening to Bill Polian. And there's a lot of former general managers in the NFL that are on TV or on the radio that I'm not sure Floyd thought were great general managers. And Bill Polian is not one of those guys. Bill Polian was a guy he had a lot of respect for. And they were talking about the wide receiver class on SiriusXM NFL radio. And it was Bill Polian and Solomon Wilcots, and they were talking about the 2019 wide receivers, Debo, AJ, DK, and Terry McLaurin. And I found the whole conversation interesting. But there was one thing in particular Polian said that really stood out to me. And it was very interesting, too, about how he framed it. And the question that Solomon Wilcots asked him was, are these guys, because we know they want the money, right? Mm-hmm. We don't know why Debo wants out of San Francisco, but we know he's going to want the money. Mm-hmm. We know DK wants the money. We know AJ wants the money. We know Terry McLaurin wants it. We know they want the money, which, of course, we get. But then we start talking about Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs and Devontae Adams, and it's like DeAndre Hopkins, and it's like, are AJ and Debo as good as those guys? Because they're going to want as much money as those guys. Are they as good? This was Bill Polian, and listen to him break down the decision the Titans have to make. This was Solomon Wilcots and Bill Polian on NFL radio.
Where do you fit these four guys into that model? Are they of that same tier?
Well, no, they're not. Brown probably comes closest because he's a big power receiver, but he can get open, he can separate. You do have to recognize where he is at all times. But then again, Tennessee is reliant so much on the run that, would you want to invest that kind of money in a wide receiver? The answer is probably yes, because you say we only need one guy with that phenomenal running game, so he's it. So that's kind of the way I would. I don't want to farm Johnny Robinson's land, but that's probably the way I would look at it.
And I thought about that. And first of all, Ian, how many times did we hear I'm not trying to farm their land over the last 6 years?
Good point.
I mean, I guess that must just be an NFL thing.
I like that term.
Oh, my God.
I'm going to start using that.
So many times. I'm not trying to farm their land.
Old school football guys.
Oh, my God. I'm not trying to farm Johnny Robinson's land, but I'd pay A.J. Brown.
Johnny Robinson.
But you heard what Polian said there. I thought it was so interesting. Do you pay him on a running team? Do you pay A.J.? The answer is probably yes, because he's the one guy. So you pay one guy to be like, this is our receiver, even though we're a running team.
But he's the one guy.
The one guy. So all these people are saying, 26th pick, got to go wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, wait a minute. If Polian is looking at your team, and Polian is saying he has no bias here. I don't think Polian hates the Titans. I don't think he hates John Robinson. I mean, sounds like
Johnny.
Johnny.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like he has any beef with Vrabel or, those guys. Maybe they do, and I don't know about it. But Polian, I think, is telling the truth of you pay one guy. Well, they're already paying another guy. Robert Woods is making $16.25 million a year.
That's not chump change.
That is not. So they're paying two guys. And we're talking about, do you pay one guy? Well, I mean, now you're the Titans, and if you draft the receiver at 26, which all these people say the Titans have to draft a receiver at 26, Joe every day is like, they got to draft a receiver at 26. Well, if you draft a receiver, that is a quality resource that you are using at that position. So now you're a running team, and nobody trusts the quarterback, and so you're going to pay the wide receiver, you pay the other wide receiver,
and draft
you've
another
already
one.
burned your second-round pick this year on a wide receiver, and now you're going to go out and go draft another wide receiver. Well, then doesn't that mean that you're a passing team that has no quarterback or doesn't have the quarterback to be a passing team? And if you're a running team, then are you overcommitting yourself at wide receiver?
But I guess the question is, how much longer can the Titans be a strictly running team?
Well, but does the running back matter?
Yeah.
Why?
If it's a running team.
Would you, let's say Derek retired.
Uh-huh.
Michael Jordan style. Like,
out of nowhere.
Just
retires.
done. I'm done.
Okay.
Would you have any problem with the Titans running the football with Deontay Foreman? I know Deontay Foreman is not on the team, but would you have any problem with the Titans saying, Deontay Foreman's our running back, and we're going to run the ball, and maybe they'll go get another running back, and you can always draft a running back. First round, second round.
Right.
You'd always, Jonathan
They're
Taylor's
always
a
there.
second-round pick. And the Titans say, this guy's going to be our new guy. Would you have any – now, would he run for 2,000 yards? Probably not.
Would I have a problem with it? No. Would I be willing to rely on that running back as much as the Titans have relied on Derrick Henry in the past? Probably not.
Oh, I think it's much easier to replace even a really good running back.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's much easier to go find another productive running back than it is to go find a productive quarterback or to go find more productive wide receivers.
We've seen that this past season in Dontrell Hilliard and Deontay Foreman.
I'm not worried either. I'm not worried about, if you're a running team right now and you want to transition to a passing team, then you need to invest in the wide receivers. I don't necessarily believe in that because I don't think this is just me.
Well, I don't think that as long as Ryan Tannehill's the quarterback, they can be a passing team.
Well, think about all the good Titans teams back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
They had one guy. It was Derek.
Mm-hmm.
Now, all the other guys were like great, know their role, play their role guys. There was Chris, who was the first one, Chris Sanders. Then there was Drew Bennett and Justin McCarrons, and people forget about how freaking good Justin McCarrons was in 2003. But he was very clearly the number 2 guy, and he was kind of the deep ball threat, and he was just a guy. And I want to say McCarrons was taken in the 3rd round or the 4th round, a couple years prior, but it would be like Nick Westbrook-Akina. Kind of making that jump into being a very reliable guy. I mean, people weren't walking around the stadium in McCarron's jerseys, but like Justin McCarron's was a good player.
Mm-hmm.
But that when you're a running team with Eddie George and you're a power team with defense, you're using your first-round picks on Albert Haynesworth, Keith Bullock, and Javon Curse. You're not using your first-round picks on wide receivers. And that's what I look at the Titans of, okay, if AJ's the one guy on a running team where, Eddie George is the running back, Derrick Henry is the running back, DeMarco Murray is the running back, the next guy is the running back, and you're going to play your team that way, you don't need 3 high-priced receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And at a first-round pick, $20 million and $16 million, that's 3 high-priced receivers for a quarterback who might stink. And certainly who I don't think has the trust of anybody, and that includes them. So when Polian says that, it makes me open up more to the idea that the wide receiver talk is kind of uninformed for how this team wants to win ball games. Especially, Robinson was asked a question. Kayla Anderson, News 2, asked her. That was a great question the other day, which was everybody talks about how the team needs offense, but what about the defensive players in the draft? And I forget what Robinson's answer was. I'm sure it was, nothing of, juice. But what if the next Jeffrey Simmons is sitting on the board there? Right? Like a really good high-end defensive player is sitting there at 26.
And we've seen the difference, what a really stout defense can do.
And all these guys aren't going to be around forever.
Uh-huh.
We're told this is a great edge-rushing class. Well, Bud Dupree might be here for one more season. Because after this year, the Titans can cut Bud Dupree. And so, I mean, if they were to announce a pass rusher this year, everybody, what pass rusher? But that's staying true to your board, which, again, is different from the gotta have a wide receiver, gotta have a wide receiver. And so when Polian lays it out like, I'm not trying to farm Johnny Robinson's land, but I would pay one guy on the Titans. And I think we're all in agreement that if they're going to pay one guy,
it's going to be AJ.
The one guy should be AJ, right?
Yes.
Okay.
But I guess another question from that is, too, because I think he makes a very fair point. And then investing in the passing game when you don't even trust your quarterback to throw the ball, it seems silly. But you say you have the one guy, and that one guy is A.J. Brown. But what if you don't have that one guy because of injury?
Because of A.J.?
Yeah.
Well, you know what my answer to that is.
You lose.
You lose! Right? Like, isn't that kind of how this all works? Like that, if you pay a guy $20 million and he gets hurt and he doesn't play.
You lose.
Carolina paid all this money to Christian McCaffrey. He gets hurt every year. What does Carolina do?
Lose.
They lose. So that's
then
my
I guess
thing.
drafting a wide receiver would provide them a little bit of insurance at the wide receiver
That's
position.
my thing. We talked about this with AJ. Once you make the decision that you're not worried about the injuries,
then you can't worry about it
then
anymore.
you're not going back to say, well, what about the injuries? Nope. You've already made that decision. And so the Polian thing I thought was fascinating.
It is interesting.
Because if you only have to place a premium, you only need one Derek Mason. And that's AJ. And the Titans were great in 2000. Their wide receivers, Derek Mason, and I mean great because he set an all-time all-purpose yards record in the NFL. Derek Mason and Chris Sanders. The next year, Derek Mason, Drew Bennett. The next year, Derek Mason, Justin McCarrons, Drew Bennett. The next year, 2,000-yard receivers. The team was terrible, but 2,000-yard receivers. Derek Mason, Drew Bennett. Then Derek went away. Then the Titans were bad at passing the football for a long, long time. So that's how I look at it is like, going back to the old school Titans, it was always one guy. And you even look back at Floyd. I mean, look at Floyd. Look at the 1999 Super Bowl team. They had one guy that they used a premium asset on, and that was Kevin Dyson at receiver. Now, Frank Wycheck was the highest paid tight end in the league, and Frank Wycheck was awesome. And this team does not have Frank Wycheck. But I guess my point is, again, when you play this style, the run the ball, the play defense, one guy and everybody else, good role players that get open and catch the ball. And that is what I look, that makes me think, 26, do they really need a receiver? 615-737-1025 is our phone number, but I think that is fascinating. 615-737-1025. I do wonder one thing about the Titans, and this is about Thursday night. And it's the one thing that my gut tells me, and the Polian thing absolutely has shaped my opinion. The one thing that I feel like I can ascertain from John Robinson's past. I'll explain what that is next, right here on Stillman and Company. Nashville's best deal of the week is Penne Pazze. That's right, in L&L Market in West Nashville. Penne Pazze is Nashville's best and most authentic Italian restaurant serving fresh farm-to-table dishes. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals to get half off a $30 gift card to Penne Pazze while supplies last.
Tune in every Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. for Nashville's own Jason Fitz with Jarrett Stillman and Company. Fitz started his sports talk career right here on 102.5 The Game, and now he anchors shows for ESPN. Jason Fitz is brought to you by Blood Assurance. Give blood. Give local. Give life.
The 2022 Major League Soccer season is officially here, and the Nashville SC Stadium nearly complete. Don't miss Nashville SC's home opener May 1st. Grab a seat at nashvillesc.com/22ticks.
Celebrating mothers everywhere, Electronic Express has what you need to make this the best Mother's Day yet. Spoil mom with brands like Zwilling, KitchenAid, Samsung, LG, Dyson, and more. We've also got huge savings in every department: computers, home theater, housewares, smart home furniture, and more. Plus, save up to 40% on all appliances with up to 36 months free financing. Shop in-store or online with free express delivery on most items. Shop spring savings at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
Smokeville Smoke Shop has been serving Hendersonville and Metro Nashville since 2015 and is committed to providing high-quality, hands-on, and personable customer service. Stop into Smokeville Smoke Shops in Hendersonville, Gallatin, Hermitage, and Goodlettsville to try any of their wide selection of locally sourced products and selection of top nationwide brands, including vapes, hookah, hand-blown glass, detox systems, e-juices, kratom products, leaf wraps, and much more. Visit Smokeville Smoke Shops today.
Parman Tractor and Equipment is your one-stop tractor and equipment solution, and Middle Tennessee's Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer. Rent or purchase a track loader, mini excavator, large excavators for your job site, or something in between. Parman is now hiring and seeking qualified candidates for construction equipment truck drivers, service technicians, and more. Apply at parmantractor.com or call 615-865-7800. Come be an employee owner with the Parman team, your Middle Tennessee Link Belt and Takeuchi dealer.
This is Chef John from Kitchen Notes at the Omni Nashville. Inviting you to come join us for breakfast and lunch. We are offering some exciting new menu items. For breakfast, we have a smoked prime rib hash. Comes with a sunny side up egg, hominy, caramelized onions. It's a great start to your day. We are featuring a sourdough pancake made with a sourdough bread starter. It's a fun spin on the classic buttermilk pancake. As always, Kitchen Notes is serving biscuits all day. Come join us and create a memorable experience here at the Omni Hotel. Food is all about memories for us. We'd like you to start a new memory here at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Hotel.
Breakfast at Kitchen Notes in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McCabe, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
It looks like there's been a lot of reports, specifically with the O-line guy.
Yeah, there was O-linemen certainly at stops that I saw, and there were players at other positions, at some of those stops that I went to. And that's one of the things that Mike and I were excited about, was being able to get back out this spring, be around these prospects on their pro days, watch them work on the field, spend some time with them after their pro days, visiting with them, getting to know them. Maybe you get a little bit more time at the school than you do, certainly in that combine interview where it's 15 or 18 minutes, whatever that is. So you get a little bit more normalcy. The player's in his environment. He's in a meeting room that he's used to on his campus. Get a better feel for, the real guy, as opposed to, maybe what the rat race of the combine is, as those guys are being shuffled from one room to the next room to the next room, and it's a bit of a whirlwind for them.
There you go. That was John Robinson explaining why he was looking at a bunch of the top offensive linemen at Pro Day. That was, hey, we want to get to know these kids. Coach Vrabel and I, we got to see these kids. It's great. It's good. And there's been a lot of talk about the Titans in the draft. Now, let's operate under the discussion we had in the last segment, which was Bill Polian said that the Titans should invest in A.J. Brown, and he should be the one guy they invest in, which would then take them out at wide receiver for the 26th pick, right?
Yes.
Do you actually agree with that decision from Polian?
It's a really interesting perspective, and I like his thinking, because this is very much so a run-first offense. And if you subscribe to the belief that Ryan Tannehill is not the quarterback that can get you to a Super Bowl, then why continue to invest in the passing game? And I understand that wide receiver ideally would be there whenever you move off of Tannehill eventually and you bring in a new quarterback, whatever. But I think that there are other needs of this team that if wide receiver isn't necessary, if you're already investing in two other wide receivers, one very much so more than the other, then look somewhere else.
So you agree with Polian's idea?
I do. I think it's a really interesting perspective
Ian,
that I haven't heard yet.
Do you agree with Polian's idea?
About spending too much on wide receivers?
Yes. For this team?
For this team? I would think for the short term, probably yes. I do wonder long term if that's sustainable, but for short term, I can buy it.
Okay. So then let's think about what else the offense needs. Right now, they need a left guard and a right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of talk about the Titans and these guards, because with all these pass rushers that are going to go off the board before the Titans pick, that's going to eat up a lot of picks. We know 2 of these quarterbacks are probably going off the board. We know that some of these tackles are probably going off the board. Neal from Alabama, Aquanu from North Carolina State, Cross from Mississippi State, they're all going off the board. Penning from Northern Illinois is probably off the board, though I wouldn't be shocked if he was available just because he's like the 4th or 5th guy. But it looks like a lot of these tackles are going off the board. And that would leave these guards. And again, the Titans need a guard. And we know that Zion Johnson is a guard from Boston College who a lot of people like, and he was roommates with Vrabel's kid. So the Titans should know as much about him as anybody else. Like, they should not have to, like, there should be no stone unturned on Zion Johnson. If Zion Johnson comes in here and ends up acting like Isaiah Wilson off the field, then Mike Vrabel should be banned from the draft room for forever. So I'm not worried about that. Then there's the Kenyon Green from Texas A&M, who everybody likes a lot, says he's a really good guard. And then there's Linderbaum, the center from Iowa, who, if you take him, you can move him to guard and then move off of Ben Jones and move him to center. Now, I don't know how much John Robinson values center, but I know this. In the last 3 drafts, and really when you look overall John Robinson's tenure, there was one time he walked into the draft with a need at guard. Like, they had a need at guard in the draft, and he waited until the 3rd round to draft Nate Davis, who played tackle in college. I mean, there were so many guards that went off the board in that 2nd round. I remember Floyd's disgust on the draft stage when, like, Eric McCoy went off the board to the Saints, and it was like, you know, and every time he crossed a name off the list. And, Ian, you remember that Friday at the draft. He was like, right guard, right guard, right guard. And they ended up drafting A.J. Brown. And so it ended up working out pretty well. But, so the one time he needed a guard, he drafted a right guard in the 3rd round and needed a starter. And we all remember that when Nate Davis got hurt in training camp and Kevin Pamfield got hurt, it was a disaster with Jamil Douglas at guard for the first 4 weeks of the season until Nate Davis got in there. So that's the one time he needed a guard. In 2016, they didn't have a right tackle. He drafted Jack Conklin in the 1st round. Then, when they lose Jack Conklin after the 2019 season, he drafted a right tackle in the 1st round, Isaiah Wilson. Last year, he drafted a right tackle in the 2nd round. Now, we don't know if that guy's any good. And I'm not making any assumptions one way or the other that he is good or he isn't good, but I'm not pinning him in at right tackle until he proves he can play right tackle. I'm not walking into Thursday's draft optimistically hoping that he can be the right tackle. I'm not doing that. But again, Robinson has shown you, as far as value to him is concerned, guard, have an immediate opening, need a guard. I'm going to take an injured defensive tackle first. I'm going to take a wide receiver when I already had 3 on the roster, like 3 guys I expected to play. I'm going to take wide receivers in the 2nd. Then I'll take like the 13th guard off the board, and that's guard. Tackle, 1st round, 2nd round. Paid Taylor Lewan, made him at the time the highest paid left tackle in the game. Doesn't that tell you what Robinson thinks of guard in the 1st round? Floyd used to tell me that if you're going to draft a guard in the 1st round, he better be Bruce Matthews and go to the Pro Bowl and the Hall of Fame. That, like, you better, if you're drafting Kenyon Green with the 26th pick, he better be in Hawaii. Well, I guess they don't go to Hawaii anymore. Wherever the hell the Pro Bowl is, he better be in the Pro Bowl. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. They just cut a guard who went to the Pro Bowl. So, I mean, Robinson tells you what he thinks of the guard position. It's not that he doesn't value it at all. I mean, kicker is the position he doesn't value. But, which, you know, that's
we'll have our qualms with that later.
Another discussion. Tight end. But, I mean, he clearly values tackle, and he clearly, in the past, has shown that he doesn't value guard as much as he's valued tackle, which I actually agree with. So when I look at all these mock drafts and I see Kenyon Green or Zion Johnson, I think to myself, would Robinson really draft a guard in the 1st round? When in the one time that he needed a guard, he didn't draft a guard. He waited until the 3rd round to draft a guard to come in and play. and he took a wide receiver he didn't need, and he took an injured defensive tackle he didn't need. He had Jarrell Casey. I mean, he didn't need defensive tackle, but he did anyways. And so I find this to be very interesting on the and everything else, but I'm just taking you through the history of Robinson because nothing he says is going to give you any idea of what he's going to do. He just doesn't operate like that. And we don't know what the board says. And nobody will tell you what the board says. And my guess is a total of 4 people have seen that board.
Robinson, Vrabel.
I don't know if Vrabel's seen it.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I think he probably would. But I would say Robinson's seen it. I would say Monty Ossenfort has seen it. I would say Ryan Cowden has seen it. And if the owner wants to see it, the owner can see it. Other than that, I don't know. I would get Vrabel's probably seen it, but it wouldn't surprise me if Vrabel hasn't seen it yet. And a lot of that's because they're doing mock drafts where they go around the room and it's like, you've got 4 teams and you've got 4 teams and you've got 4 teams and you've got 4 teams. And we try to shake it out to see what we think will happen Thursday night. So then we get an idea of what we can do. All the work's done now. Like the draft board, I heard Bill Polian say, and I think Floyd has kind of told us this in the past, Bill Polian said the board's done like March 30th.
Wow.
The board's done. Like, it's done. There's nothing else to see. And
I mean, I guess pro days are over with.
Right.
And
Now, new information will get guys taken off because it's like, actually, he might have sexually assaulted somebody. Take him off the board. That kind of thing. But for the most part, like, that's it. Or, oh, yeah, their medical scan came back and their entire knee is broken or they have 1 kidney off. And that's, although that doesn't stop the Titans, that has shown us. Again, like we said, Titans have shown us if there's an injured person in this draft, they'll draft them. But if there's a guard there, just off of what we've seen Robinson in the past, and I don't know what guards and how he had them ranked and whatever going into 2019, maybe there wasn't a guard who was anywhere near the caliber of A.J. Brown at wide receiver, so they didn't take a guard in the 2nd round that year.
And that's what I'm wondering. Is it less about the position and maybe about the players and the talent?
Well, I definitely think there's a lot more about that than there's the position. But then in 2017, I mean, every caller we had leading up there was, we need a corner and a wide receiver. Titans went out, wide receiver 5th overall, DB 17th or 19th overall. So that didn't stop them in the past. 615-737-1025. We'll get to your phones. And Joe had a ridiculous take. I mean, ridiculous in The Athletic that I literally had to ask Joe what in the world he was thinking. So we'll get to that next too. 615-737-1025, Stillman and Company. Speaking of the draft, don't miss Nashville's best draft night coverage starting at 5 o'clock Thursday and Friday on 1025 The Game, presented by Social Furniture, Apple Collision Centers, Farm Bureau Health Plans, and the Nashville Sheriff's Office. Be sure to join us on site as 1025 The Game will be broadcasting live on Thursday from 3rd and Home, Germantown's Bar with a Ballpark, and Friday at 312 Pizza Company in Germantown. You can watch all of our live coverage of the draft via 1025 The Game's Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game.
This is Tanner Janot, and this is Smashville.
And now down the right wing side, Tanner Janot. His shot, he scored! Tanner Janot with the shot!
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network. ESPN 1025, The Game.
Hi guys, it's Andrew with Hillside Medical Clinic. Is erectile dysfunction damaging your relationship? Are you sick of the pill and all the side effects? Well, welcome to the future. We have a major medical breakthrough. Hillside Medical Clinic uses the most advanced form of wave therapy. Backed by 60 clinical studies, our technology uses pressure waves to repair and open up blood vessels. We've helped countless men get rid of their ED. But what is the true end result? Their relationship, even their lives, improve drastically. If you're ready to regain your love life, call us right now, and not only will the assessment and ultrasound be free, we'll also give you a gift that produces immediate results in the bedroom. It almost never fails. This is worth $550, and it's free to callers right now. 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and experience what I call the happiness ripple effect. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now, 615-576-5000.
This segment of ESPN 1025 The Game is brought to you by Train Heating and Cooling Systems. Tested, retested, engineered, and re-engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent train dealer. Traininfo.com. It's hard to stop a train.
Listen to Stillman and Company with me, Caroline Fenton, all season long on ESPN 1025 The Game for your chance to win Nashville Sounds tickets courtesy of 312 Pizza Company in Germantown.
Realizing Geico's great service and licensed agents are available at your fingertips is like realizing the plastic piece that comes with your pizza isn't a tiny doll table. It's to keep the box from touching the pizza.
Hey, the pizza's stuck to the box. Where's that little plastic thing?
Dolly needed it for her tea party.
It's something that's been right there in front of you all along, like the dedicated Geico claims team available to you in the event of an accident to get you back on the road quickly, or how your smartphone charges faster when you put it on airplane mode.
Wow, what if I put it on rocket mode?
It's something you can't believe you never realized before, like how Geico's industry-leading app lets you pay your bill, file a claim, manage your policy, or summon help when you need it. Or how those holes in your shower caddy are there so you can store your shampoo bottles upside down.
Showers happen fast when you're not waiting on shampoo.
Great service. It's just one of the many reasons to switch to Geico. They're all right there in front of you.
It's watching the top players take the ice. It's hard-fought games that end in victory. It's showing your favorite team to your favorite people. Secure your seats for the 2022-23 Nashville Predators season today to ensure you never miss a game at Bridgestone Arena. Plus, enjoy Nashville locker room discounts, exclusive presale offers, and more. Visit NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. Join the Loyal Legion today and paint the town Preds. That's NashvillePredators.com/season tickets. NashvillePredators.com/season tickets.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is John Hines, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
John, you had a situation, I guess AJ's talking with Deebo Samuel on an Instagram video talking about the terms of the negotiations. You got him requesting a trade. Does any of this make you feel more urgency when it comes to the AJ situation? Yeah, I mean, I've talked about where we're at. I've talked to AJ's reps. AJ knows how we feel about him, how much he means to this football team, and I haven't seen any, Instagram videos or Snapchats or Vimeos or any of that kind of stuff.
There you go, John Robinson. What I think was just simply not true. Like, from now on, when John Robinson has the pre-draft press conference, next year I'm going to bring a Bible.
For him to put his hand on?
Yep. I swear to tell the whole truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
That will not happen.
Yeah, well, we already said that we know that John Robinson heard the video.
And we have to take what he says with a grain of salt.
So Joe Rexrode
doesn't want to answer questions about it.
I want to talk about the guy who asked the question more than the guy who answered it.
But let me start by saying thank you for asking that question, Joe.
It was a good question.
Good question.
Joe Rexrode in The Athletic wrote something that I found to be wild. Now, remember how we played the Bill Polian clip earlier where Bill Polian said that the top guys, the 2019 wide receivers, are not as good as Hill, Adams, Hopkins, or Diggs.
Correct.
That they just are not in that class. And I think we'd all agree with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So all these guys want to get paid. They all want $25 million, $26 million. They all want to get paid like the other guys. But again, to the football people, they're not as good as the guys that are making that kind of money, which is fair. So Joe wrote in The Athletic about what the Titans should give A.J. Brown, and I literally had to text him about this. And almost in the sense of, dude, are you serious? So here's what he wrote. He said, the Titans should do all they can to sign Brown to a long-term deal. Should be willing to get in the $25 million a year range and the $70 million guaranteed range. Stop. $25 million a year is more money than Stephon Diggs with the Buffalo Bills.
Yes, it is.
Who's the better wide receiver, Stephon Diggs or A.J. Brown?
Stephon Diggs.
Ian?
I'm going to lean Diggs.
I don't think you got to lean Diggs. I mean, I think this is you know.
Well, Joe said on Jared versus Joe that he would take AJ over Stephon Diggs.
Did he say that? Because I texted Joe about how he's wanted to give him more money than Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
I would like to
believe he
see A.J. Brown in that offense with Josh Allen. That'd be fun.
That's another fair point is Josh Allen's just a better quarterback.
I'd like to see Stephon Diggs in Tennessee Titans offense. I mean, I think Stephon Diggs. I mean, we're talking about Stephon Diggs.
Yeah, Stephon Diggs is a bad man.
$70 million guaranteed. That is more money than Devontae Adams.
If you want to talk about $25 million a year, I don't think that's that outrageous. Like, is it higher than I'd like? Yes, but $70 million guaranteed is way too much for me.
$70 million. That is like $4 million more than Devontae Adams.
But to be fair, Stephon Diggs gets $70 million guaranteed.
Which is
and Stephon Diggs is a better wide receiver than A.J. Brown, yes.
I mean, we're talking
but DeAndre
about
Hopkins gets $50 million guaranteed.
We're talking about Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill. And Tyreek Hill, the only reason that they gave Tyreek Hill all that money is because Tyreek Hill would have never gone to Miami. In the press conference, they asked Tyreek Hill about leaving Kansas City, and Tyreek was like, $70 million will do that to you. And hey, I get it. So, Joe, the Titans are not – the Titans have the leverage. We talked about this. And we know AJ's injuries – again, it sounds like the Titans have moved on from worrying about AJ's injuries, but AJ's injuries are part of the discussion. If the Titans keep AJ, they can pay him $4 million this year. Then they can franchise tag him and pay him $25 million next year. And then they can franchise tag him again and pay him $31 million. And at the end of that, it would be $61 million, which give or take a few million because there's probably going to be another receiver that signs that would elevate that number up a little bit.
But still
but
around that $60 million mark.
Around $60 million. And you want to give him $10 million more guaranteed than you would have to without being stuck with him if you gave it to him with the option of tagging. And that's crazy. Like, that's crazy. And so I saw that. I texted Joe yesterday, and I was like, whoa. I got to understand something. Because I'll tell you what, I talked to some people about my AJ contract that I put out the other day about the, 4 years, 64 guaranteed.
Was that like 22 a year, 21 a year?
22 and a half.
22 and a half.
Which is crazy because Polian was talking about what these guys should get, and he said that they should get between 22 and 18.
Which would be $20 million that the Titans supposedly already offered.
And who was the best guy of the four that Polian said of Brown, Debo, McLaurin, and DK?
AJ.
He said AJ was the best, so that would make sense that AJ would be at the top of that 22.
Closer to the 22.
But again, like I talked to some people that were like, yeah, I think that might be a generous deal for Brown to give him $64 million guaranteed. So I texted Joe. And I also had to get on him with his Dante Fabro take because I thought it was a terrible take too. But I asked Joe about, like, why would you do this when the tags are going to be $61 million? And Polian said that they're not in the $25 million range because they're not as good as the other guys. And is AJ really worth more than Diggs? And Joe said this. I think AJ will be better than Diggs over the duration of their next deals, in part because Diggs will get into his 30s. Diggs is clearly better now. Stop. It's hard to project who will be better down the road, but it's not like AJ is 20 years old anymore. And AJ is always hurt.
AJ is younger than Stephon Diggs, but I think you have to bring the injury component into this as well.
Sure. Like the guy that I'm least excited about in the future of all the money that they've been paid is Hopkins. Because Hopkins gets hurt. You know, he gets hurt all the time. He said, to answer your first question, you do it. Oh, this is great. You do it to make him happy and because you believe he is on the cusp of greatness. If you don't, deal him or let him play this out and tag him. As you've always said, the guaranteed money is all that matters anyways, which is right because I would not guarantee him Devontae Adams money. And if he were to ask me why I wouldn't guarantee him Devontae Adams money.
Because he's not Devontae Adams.
I would tell him it's not good Devontae Adams. I mean, and so this is the thing, like, and this is what gets me about, got to keep this guy happy, got to keep that guy happy, There comes a point where you have to start having reality discussions with people. And it can't just be all about keeping people happy. And there's such a fine line between that. But if the player is a truly great player and they don't ever see reality, then they'll never be as good as they could possibly be. And I'll use Kobe Bryant as the example here. Kobe Bryant was the biggest baby at the beginning of his career. You know, there was a story that he told, and he kind of laughed about it. When he was a rookie, he kept shooting the ball. And Shaq would be posting, throw me the ball, throw me the ball, throw me the ball. Kobe shoots the ball. Shaq finally takes him aside. This is Shaquille O'Neal now, who'd been, an all-star and been to the finals in Orlando. Shaq puts his arm around him and is like, hey, pass me the ball. When I'm calling for the ball, pass me the ball. Kobe's like, I got you. Shaq's in there, give the ball, give the ball, give the ball. Kobe shoots it. Shaq goes back to him and goes, I told you to give me the ball. Kobe goes, if you want the ball, go rebound it. And then Kobe would say, I can't believe I said that.
That is
I can't believe I said that. Well, Kobe didn't like Shaq, didn't like Phil, Phil leaves, Rudy Tomjanovich comes in, Shaq goes to Miami, Lamar Odom comes in. At some point, Kobe realized, so selfish because I'm not going to win any championships if I don't. Back comes Phil, in comes Pau Gasol, back to the finals, the Lakers go. And so if it's all about keeping AJ happy and you're going to guarantee AJ $9 million more just to make him happy, there's some worry, I think, in that Deebo Samuel audio, because if AJ feels offended by $20 million a season and Bill Polian is saying, I'd pay these guys $18 to $22 million, then there's got to be a reality check somewhere in here. And everybody keeps talking about Deebo Samuel and what he's going to get, and Deebo's requested a trade. Did you see the video over the weekend?
Yeah, I did. If
Deebo
in the club,
be like, oh,
he's like, no, I'm not coming back.
Well, guess what? Deebo doesn't get to decide that. Deebo's under contract.
Unless he is just so unhappy with whatever number the 49ers throw
But
his
he
way.
still doesn't get to decide that.
No, it's true.
I mean,
he can be unhappy if he wants to
so
be.
There's a fine line. I'm not saying go out of your way to piss off A.J. Brown, but I'm not saying you give him Devontae Adams money. I mean, that's just crazy. That's Devontae Adams. Like, that's DeAndre Hopkins.
I mean,
that's
those are some of the best wide receivers in the league.
Hill.
I mean, we've said A.J. Brown's, top 15
Yeah.
wide receiver in the league? And, that's not any knock on A.J. That's just the reality of the situation here.
Well, and what about
And he's going to be
Solomon
making
Wilcots?
top 5 wide receiver money.
What about Solomon Wilcots asking Polian, are any of these guys as good as the other guys? Polian, no. Like, that was Polian's response. And he's not working for anybody here. So, I mean, Joe, I love you, but $70 million
70
more
is a
than
lot.
Devontae Adams. That's crazy.
70 is a lot.
$25 million. When Polian is saying, 18 to 22, and you're saying 25. And $3 million a year is a lot of money in the NFL because that's at least one starter.
That's Ferkser.
Well, I guess it's Swain.
Swain, yeah.
Ferkser's in Atlanta making no money. 615-737-1025. We're doing your phones on it because we haven't gone to them this hour, so we'll do that next. 615-737-1025. But when I read that in the Athletic, I was like, Joe, come on now. Join ESPN 1025, the game for the Music City Celebrity Golf Tournament benefiting Folds of Honor on May 16th at the Hermitage Golf Course. Put your team together and come play with athletes, musicians, and other local celebrities. Sign up at theGameNashville.com/golf.
Do you have that one person or thing that just makes you mad? Join us every Friday at noon on the DDC for You Just Made the List. Fueled by Parman Energy. Visit ParmanEnergy.com, your one-stop petroleum solution, and try Star Movie on the DDC on ESPN 1025 The Game.
You just made the list.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Scattered showers and thunderstorms will continue this afternoon and into this evening, but this evening and overnight we'll see most of these showers clearing into East Tennessee.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Staples stores are a new world of possible with innovative tools for small business and remote workers and learners. Explore more at your local Staples store or staplesconnect.com.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway. Now here's Jim Mitchell.
Our fleet vehicle program is a great benefit to all the fleet companies in Nashville. We are able to get their vehicle back on the road a lot quicker than the downtime of most dealers and most general repair shops, simply because we have the transmissions available. We're able to put priority on their vehicles to get them back on the road quickly.
You know it's going to happen, and when your car needs service or repair, remember Mitchell's Mr. Transmission on Gallatin Road, just north of Briley Parkway.
Introducing the first Nashville location of Mayweather Boxing and Fitness in Midtown. Perfect for all fitness levels. Join a community that will help every person unleash their inner champ with fun, effective, and empowering group boxing circuit workouts. Become a founding member today. Stop by the brand new studio in Midtown at 2041 Broadway, Suite C, or call 629-206-9092 to join the family exclusive. Pre-opening rates now available. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, the gold standard in boxing fitness.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McCabe, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
Driving happy with Febreze car.
You're driving home when, oh no, you hit the longest red light in town. What's this? You're smiling because your car smells amazing. You just installed a Febreze car vent clip. Ha ha! 5 weeks ago, with up to 40 days of consistent Febreze scent, those lights can stay red for as long as they'd like.
Breathe happy, Febreze, la 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 la.
Don't forget to grab your mom something special this year. Shop at Social Furniture for their Mother's Day sale, where everything is in stock. They have sofas, bedroom sets, and top-name brand new mattresses like Purple, Serta, Sealy, and Simmons on sale now. Running out of time? Well, at Social Furniture, there's no waiting and same-day delivery. Use Social Furniture's financing plan and pay no interest for 1 full year. Shop at Social Furniture today on Charlotte Avenue in West Nashville. Shop local. Shop social. Social Furniture is a proud supporter of your Nashville Predators.
Meshing journalism.
They are 2 scores behind you. The math says that increases your chances of winning.
With sports fandom.
I stayed up till 1:30 in the morning, just emotionally numb from Titans and Packers.
And sarcasm.
You guys are the worst.
Robby Stanley and Joe Rexrode are Robby and Rexrode. No duh. Weekday mornings from 6 to 10. Brought to you by Little Guys Movers on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Watch live on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube.
Stillman and Company is on. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
I think between the 4 guys, they're going to make an average of somewhere between $3 to $5 million for the upcoming season. So you can see why they would rather sign the long-term deal sooner rather than later, because that would put them 18 to 20 million for the upcoming season as opposed to 3 to 5. But however, it's been said too that if you're going to come up early, you got to be willing to take a little bit less. If you're going to push it all the way to the free agency line, now that's another deal, and teams are going to pay maybe more premium. So that's something that the players have to also consider.
There you go. That was Solomon Wilcots on NFL Radio. If you're going to sign early, if you're going to make a little bit more money up front, you're not going to make as much money if you went to free agency, which seems like a basic opinion that I think's totally getting lost here. Like, yeah. Debo thinks he's got all the power. Debo ain't got all. Debo has no power. AJ, now I don't know what AJ
Debo
thinks.
may look at it like I know that there's a market out there for me, so that could be driving up my value.
You think Joe Burrow looks at it like there's going to be a market for me?
Well, but is Joe Burrow unhappy in Cincinnati?
What's the market for Joe Burrow?
In terms of money or trade or what?
Let's say that Joe Burrow was an unrestricted free agent and they couldn't put a tag on him. Right now. And again, signing bonus spreads out over 5 years, so any deal that you would do is 5 years, he'd probably want 4.
Right.
So let's say 4 years. What is Joe Burrow's worth for 4 years? If one team is going to give a quarterback who's facing 22 sexual assaults a $230 million 4-year contract, then my guess is Joe Burrow is looking at a 4-year, and again, it's only 4 because Joe wants 4 instead of 5. Joe's probably looking at a 4-year, $260 million contract.
I was going to say 250, but I
somewhere
didn't know
in
if that
range,
was too ridiculous.
And then it's probably all guaranteed because he's Joe Burrow. And how many teams would be willing to do that just to keep another team from having Joe Burrow?
A lot of them.
But guess what?
They're not going to do that.
Joe is tied to Cincinnati for 3 more years plus 2 franchise tags, so that's 5 years. And that's it's easy when it's Joe Burrow. It's easy when you're the best.
It's easy when you know when you're a good quarterback.
It's easy when it's the best. It's harder when and it's easy when you suck.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for Daniel Jones. It's harder when you're Kyler Murray. What do we have on our text line? 615-737. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com.
Jeremy texts in and says, no one on this Titans team is on the cusp of greatness as long as Tannehill is the quarterback.
See, that's just not true. Like, as easy as that is to say, and you know me, you know how I feel about Tannehill, you can't tell me Jeffrey Simmons is not on the cusp of greatness. You cannot tell me that A.J. Brown does not have the potential to be really good. Derrick Henry, I mean, I feel for Derrick because if Derrick had continued with what he was doing last year, he probably runs for 2,000 yards and is probably a lock for Canton. Now Derrick's going to have to find a way to make that up, which isn't his fault, but it's the reality of the situation. But, I mean, I think Derrick's already great right now. So you can't say that Tannehill's quarterback, none of these guys are going to be any good. It's like, that's not really the reality of it, but I understand the sentiment. And you can't worry about Tannehill when it comes to thinking about A.J. You can't say, well, Tannehill's no good, so don't pay A.J. Because if Tannehill is no good, you're going to get a new quarterback in here, and you want that new quarterback to have A.J. Brown. And you can't say to yourself, well, we have to go out and get as many receivers as possible and pay them all $1 bajillion because Tannehill's the quarterback and he stinks. Because you can't do that. What's next?
Craig texts in and says, if AJ is not going to take the deal on the table, I'm fine with seeing if the Jets would give you a first and a second for him. He might not be worth that, but the Jets aren't the smartest franchise. I would say AJ Brown's worth more than a first and a second.
I mean, it depends. I think the Jets have made it pretty obvious they're willing to deal the 10th overall pick for a wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And I think I heard somebody today talking, and this is like where I kind of feel uncomfortable. I actually talked a lot about this on Sirius on Saturday about Deebo Samuel. And it's all these people that want to talk about teams for Deebo and who would be best for Deebo and where would Deebo fit. And my opening take on Sirius Saturday was, how can you know where Deebo would fit if you don't know why Deebo wants out of San Francisco? Like Mike Florio wrote at Pro Football Talk that the Jets, Lions, and Packers are lined up for Deebo. But if Deebo wants out of San Francisco because they use him as a running back, well, that's no good to Matt LaFleur, whose offense is the exact same as San Francisco's. Mm-hmm. Like, why would you trade for Deebo if you don't know why Deebo wants out?
Or if it's too far from home.
Or if it's too far from home. Or, and I don't know what the Wisconsin state taxes are. I don't know what that, if he's mad about California state taxes.
I don't know.
I don't know. So how can you make any
New York
decision
isn't your landing
on Deebo
spot
if you don't know why Deebo wants out? It's like impossible to have that opinion. So everybody sits here and talks about, AJ and is AJ going to do this or is he going to do that? And there's just too many things that you don't know to sit there and put your foot down and say, okay, this is what you should do. The Jets, I would trade AJ for a first and a second. I mean, if you put AJ out there might be a team that's willing to give you 2 firsts. There might be a team that's willing to give you more than what Devontae Adams went for. There's also a chance that there may be teams that get, worried about the injury. You never know. That's what makes it hard. That's like, I was talking to Floyd's son a couple of weeks ago about picking. The Titans have the 26th pick. They have no idea who they're going to pick with that. They don't know. If you were to say, John, who are you going to pick? He'd tell you a handful of guys he likes, but he wouldn't know who he's going to pick in this draft because they don't know who's going to be there. What's next?
Rob texts in and says, why do people not assume that Tannehill can go back to the Ryan Tannehill of his first 2 years with the Titans as opposed to last?
I mean, here's my problem. 5 playoff games, he's 2-3, and he hasn't thrown for 100 yards in the 2 games that they've won. And one of my biggest problems with Tannehill is the pee down the leg interception. And you go back to that Patriots game in the playoffs, and he threw one. Corey Davis was not – he panicked, and he threw it up in the air for Corey Davis, and the Patriots came down with it. And so, to me, I think that it's not – I think what happens is the Tannehill defenders, whom we'll get to in just a little bit, the Tannehill defenders look at it as if you're mad at one game. And so you say, well, I mean, look at the Cincinnati game. That was one game. Okay, well, look at his whole season where he was terrible. Everybody was hurt. It's like, well, they weren't hurt in the Cincinnati game. But that was one game. But then what about the Ravens game the year before?
That's also an incredibly important game. That's
right.
a playoff
But
game.
what about the Ravens game the year before? Or what about the playoffs the year before where Derrick Henry was running all over everybody and the Titans weren't throwing anything? I mean, I'm sorry. Matt Ryan can make those throws to Ferguson in the Patriots game. A lot of quarterbacks can make those throws to Ferguson. And so I'm assuming that Tannehill can't get back to it because I think that with him taking up too much of the money, there's not enough money to go get wide receivers and other things. And now, because he's taken up so much of the money, they can't manipulate his contract anymore because this is why they're in the mess they're in now. What's next?
Another texter texts in and says, would you trade AJ for the 10th pick, the 35th pick, and a third next year?
No. Again, I mean, this is what I love. Like, it's not about, would you trade him for this? Would you trade him for that? Would you trade him for, is AJ going to take the contract that you are willing to give AJ? And this is my thing with Forsberg. I bet you if you had told David Poyle going into the hockey season that Philip Forsberg is going to want, whatever it was that they want, that he wants 8 years at $10 million.
No movement.
And he wants a full no movement clause, David Poyle would say, hell no. Well, if you're a truly good negotiator or a really truly good general manager, which at this point I am not convinced David Poyle is, but if you are one of those, then when you get to the point to where you realize they're not going to take your final offer, you trade them. That's what happened with Tyreek Hill. Was Kansas City said, we want to sign you. Hill said, I want to sign. Kansas City said, here's what we're willing to do. Drew Rosenhaus said, hell no. Floyd told me, Drew Rosenhaus, if he thinks somebody's worth a certain value, he's not moving off of that. Kansas City realized, we're not moving Drew Rosenhaus off this. Let's trade. I don't know with Torrey Dandy and AJ if that $20 million a year is not good enough, or $22 million, or whatever it is the Titans are going to end up, whatever their final offer is. If that's not good enough, then you trade. And if it is good enough, or you trade, or you keep and you tag. But you got to decide. Like, you need to know ahead of time what you're going to do before you get put up against it. I think the Predators let Philip Forsberg's season dictate their decisions, and now they have to give him whatever he wants. And I don't operate like that. So the Titans have to know plan A, plan B, plan C, and then operate accordingly. 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. A lot of people were mad at me this weekend. I mean, a lot of people. But there's one group in particular that is always mad at me. And I don't know why. And I definitely don't know why surrounding this. We'll get to that next. Stillman & Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game. Pro Golf is coming to Nashville this May with the Simmons Bank Open. Text the keyword golf now to 615-737-1025 for a chance to win a weekend pass for 4 to enjoy the event in style, including food, drink, plus a Predators gift bag, including polo shirt, golf balls, and umbrella. Text golf now to 615-737-1025 and enter to win.
The voice of reason.
Now, you may say, well, a quarterback is more important than a running back. That's fine. You can say whatever you want.
The voice of the fan.
Even if we have to develop him while he's playing, I just want a boring first-round pick.
The voice of Nashville sports is your home of Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
It's the return of Jack White, live in concert. The Supply Chain Issues Tour. This Saturday and Sunday at Ascend Amphitheater. Get tickets now at LiveNation.com. The brand new albums from Jack White, Fear of the Dawn, is available now. And Entering Heaven Alive drops July 22nd. Don't miss Jack White. Visit JackWhiteThe3rd.com for more information.
Trying to find a new home right now is next to impossible. Very little inventory, prices are crazy high, rates are moving up. Here's a better idea. Let my friends at Loan Pronto refinance your current home, turn all that equity you have into cash, and totally transform your house. A new kitchen, new bathroom, a pool. Think about it. Your home value is up. Instead of wasting all that on an overpriced new house, convert that equity into cash for a home makeover. One local couple did it and got $200,000 out. They added new hardwoods, an outdoor living space, a swimming pool with spa and all new cabinets and appliances, plus a home office. Now they have their dream home, and they never had to move. Call Loan Pronto. Ask about their home improvement refi. Give your home a total makeover and do it now. You can even skip your next house payment in the process. Call now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. 615-499-5780. Equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Penne Pazza in L&L Market in West Nashville. Penne Pazza is Nashville's best and most authentic Italian restaurant, serving farm-to-table pasta dishes, signature pizzas, salads, and more in their open kitchen concept. Head to theGameNashville.com/deals now to get half off a $30 gift card to Penne Pazza while supplies last. That's theGameNashville.com/deals. Penne Pazza, crazy good Italian cuisine.
When Smashville wants to rock.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter. Looking to the sky to save me, looking for a sign of life, 'cause it's too cold for you here.
We are Nashville's rock station. 102.9 The Buzz. From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman and Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5 The Game. Streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. Caroline Fenton just asked me to be nice about something that she knows I'm right about. Right?
Well, the essence of what you're saying is correct. But you threw a little nugget in there that was unnecessary.
And it was a purposeful mean nugget.
I know it was.
It wasn't like I was hiding it for
You
a
have
reason.
every right to be upset about what you're mad about.
Okay. And then you were like, you need to be nice. And what I
didn't
said,
say you need to be nice. I just said be nice.
be nice.
Be nice.
This is serious around here.
This
is
serious.
sports. This is not fun. This is sports.
This is football.
This is serious. And I do want to get to this. So I will say, I have spent so much of my life trying to please other people, which I know sounds crazy, right?
No.
But I have spent so much of my life trying to impress other people, trying to please other people, trying to whatever. And yet, I have noticed that I just piss a lot of people off. 2 weeks ago, it was the soccer team, and I'm not sorry for that. Last week, I don't know if I've made the hockey team mad.
You've made Predators fans
I've
mad.
made Predators fans. Although this year they've been really, honestly, I haven't felt the brunt of it. But, we got an entire group of fans that are dedicated to taking me out, which hasn't happened yet. But that's one of, their things they talk about all the time. Yet. Knock on wood. But so I've made them mad. I made a bunch of Grizzlies fans mad over the weekend, which, again, I'm not sorry about that. But, boy, did I get the Titan fan bloggers all worked up.
Yeah, I saw that.
Here's what's crazy. I always get the Titan fan bloggers riled up. I don't know why, but I do. I have a theory. It's that when you don't have a radio show or you don't have TV ratings to worry about or you don't have – all you have is Twitter interactions to make yourself feel important as far as, the coverage of the team. The fanboy bloggers – think that they're like actual media, but they're not. They're just fans who have a website and a blog, and it's a gray area. But there's TD and Corey Curtis and Paul Kaharski and that's covering the team, and then there is Go Team, and I have never understood this. I understand why the soccer team's mad at me, or why they were mad at me a couple of weeks ago. Now the links in which they went to with their madness, I thought was a little over the top. And I understand why fans get mad or whatever. But last week, the Titan fanboy bloggers were so mad at me. They talked about all weekend about my comments on Ryan Tannehill's Instagram picture. And what they were doing was they were saying, and you probably saw some of this too, was everybody was like, this is what they're saying on sports talk radio about this Instagram picture of Ryan Tannehill on vacation fishing when everybody else is at work. And I'm like, are they really talking about sports talk radio, or are they talking about one sports talk show in particular? Because what happened Friday was he posted the picture, and everybody knew when he posted the picture, Jared Stillman is going to lose it. And then on Friday, Jared Stillman lost it. So when I hear people talk about sports talk radio hosts are going to get all mad at fanboytitans.com, I'm like, here's my reality to this. And Chad Withrow had this take last week. I think it's a pretty good one. Why do you feel the need to defend Tannehill? Like, why do the fanboy bloggers, like these are people who are truly fanboys. Like, their noses are so far up the Titans' booties that, like, they just love them. And yet, I bet there's a lot of people who work for the Titans or play for the Titans or coach for the Titans that were pissed off last week by what they saw with that picture. And that they were upset with the fact that Tannehill wasn't there. We even believe that the coach is mad that Tannehill wasn't there. And yet they just feel the need to defend Tannehill. I mean, it's unbelievable. It's this sense of like they owe it to Tannehill. Like we talked about Buck and how Buck didn't blame Tannehill for the Cincinnati game. He wasn't mad that Tannehill wasn't there. And that he, didn't believe that it was Tannehill's fault that he posted the fishing picture and that it's his social media team's fault for not understanding it. Tannehill can't be 100% right all the time. Nobody's right all the time. There's just no way. I'm not right all the time. But what is it about Tannehill? Like, I get the Boston fans that are like, oh, and Bill we trust. If Bill wants to draft this safety we've never heard of out of Lennar Ryan State University, go take him. I get that. Oh, Tommy's he's the best quarterback ever. He'll win it for us. Like, you got 6 Super Bowls there. Tannehill, you got 2 playoff wins 3 years ago. Joe Burrow, who he lost his last game to, was in college the last time Ryan Tannehill won a playoff game. So why does the fanboy media feel the need to defend Ryan Tannehill? What is so special about Ryan Tannehill that that they are just immune from the possibility of thinking about criticizing Ryan Tannehill?
I think it's this mindset of like the Titans aren't as talked about nationally as some other teams. You could say that the Titans kind of get swept under the rug in terms of the NFL discussion of things. So I think that a lot of Titans fans view it as, if you're not with us, you're against us. Nobody's going to talk about the Titans, but we'll talk about the Titans. And it's almost this feeling of like, if you disrespect the Titans or the Titans quarterback or a Titans player, you're disrespecting us.
Okay, let's think about this. Does anybody talk about the Titans more than we do?
Well, I don't know. About other shows in Nashville, I would say that a lot of other shows in Nashville do talk about the Titans.
But more than we do?
I don't know. We talk about the Titans a lot.
I mean, again,
I would say that we are one of many shows that talk about the Titans a lot.
Like, we talk about the Titans all the time.
Yes.
I mean, like, there is no
3 to 4 hours a day we talk about the Titans.
The second thing is, if the coach is mad, now, didn't say he was mad. Everybody just implied that the coach was mad. But if the coach is mad about Tannehill, then why would you not be mad about Tannehill if you, the fanboy blogger, you're either for us or you're against us?
Well, maybe don't think that Vrabel is mad. Because Vrabel didn't say that he was upset he wasn't there. He can't say that he was upset that Tannehill was there. So that might be just a minor detail that's, thrown under the rug because it doesn't fit their story, or they don't see it like that. They don't see that Vrabel is upset with Tannehill. All they heard was, we're looking forward to having Ryan back soon.
Do you know what I think it is?
What?
I think it is that they know that their audience, because who are the fanboy bloggers playing to?
The fanboys.
The Twitter fanboys.
Yeah.
Like our demographic is like a 38-year-old person driving home right now. Like our Twitter, and our show's on Twitter, and stuff. We're not playing towards Twitter. We don't make money. I mean, we do make money off Twitter, but we don't make our money off of Twitter. We make
don't
our
play
money
into the popular opinion or thought around town.
We are playing to people flipping their radios, trying to get them on us and have them come back to us. Which, radio sometimes is you challenge, you're uncomfortable, people like that. The Twitter fanboys love complaining about me.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's where
they're the
a lot
antithesis of a
this-
fanboy.
I think that even though I'm a fan, I'm a huge fan. Like, I love the Titans.
But I think there are two different types of fans out there. I think there are fans out there that look at their team and say, my team can do no wrong. My team is perfect and amazing in every
I think there are
single way.
people that want to hear good things about
And
their
people
team
want to
all the
hear
time.
good things about their teams because they see their team as a direct reflection of them. And when their team is good, they feel a personal sense of pride. There's also fans out there that just want their team to win. And they don't care if that team wins with Ryan Tannehill or if that team wins with Logan Woodside or if that team wins with just a person they found off the street. They just want their team to win. So they're willing to look at all the different avenues that puts their team in the best position to win. And I think that's, albeit everyone wants the same end goal, both sides of the fanboys see it differently.
So someone just texted me and said, Preds, UT, and Vandy have their website fan coverage too and refuse to criticize. Not sure why the Titans group is being singled out. First of all, if there is anybody that the Preds, Vandy, and UT Twitter fans hate, it's me.
It's you, yeah.
I mean, come on.
Preds very much so.
I mean,
they do not like
oh my God. I mean, how many of these conversations have we had over the years? This one just happens to be the most recent, and I think the most illogical. But I mean, I've had my battles all the time. We start with UT, Butch Jones. I was so out on Butch Jones because I thought his line of bullcrap was all bullcrap. And the fans, we had people calling in. I wonder if I still have this call. We had somebody call in that was like, Butch Jones is going to stick it to Nick Saban, you watch. Like, we got those calls.
Well, it's you can laugh about it now because we know
Oh,
how
but then people believed it.
ridiculously outrageous that is.
The Preds fans? The Preds fans got the Preds fanboy blogging crew. Nobody's been more mad at me than the Preds fanboy blogging crew. They held their – I called them a bunch of bobos, which they are. People that are rooting for the team, the bloggers. I called them a bunch of bobos when they all picked the Predators to beat Chicago in 2017, and they held on to that for literally like 3 years. Like, never let it go.
They didn't like that.
Never
I
let
wouldn't
it go.
like being called a bobo either.
Who cares?
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like if you want to do what you want to do and you have your audience and you're successful with it, then keep doing it.
Who cares? Who cares?
Who cares?
And then, now I got the soccer fans all worked up about we talked about this. Like, this goes back to the Tannehill thing about, like, what do you owe Tannehill? Why are you mad that we're saying, you know what, they should charge less for concessions in soccer?
Isn't that all kind of like shouldn't we all be on board for cheaper things?
Yes.
Like, I don't know how someone could be like, you know what, Jared, I like spending $13
Yeah, Jared, you're
on
wrong for
chicken
saying
fingers.
that $6.49
But it goes back to my
for a
point
hot
that,
dog.
like, if someone's a diehard Nashville SC fan, it doesn't matter what the
They
argument
don't want
against
any
the team
rain
is.
on their
they don't
stadium
want
parade and-
anyone to be anti the team
But
in
you
any
don't owe
way.
Ryan Tannehill that.
Well, some people think as a fan that is their
You
job.
don't owe him that. He 3 interceptions against the Bengals.
Well, some people think that you should just let them
He
fish.
owes you being at workouts to lead his team.
Some people don't view it like that.
Clearly
people say
they
whatever
don't.
Ryan Tannehill does is right because Ryan Tannehill is the quarterback of the Titans and he can do no wrong.
No. They think whatever Jared Stillman says is wrong. That's what it is.
Maybe so.
Because there's a lot of
We could
overlap
do that.
here on the fanboys and the
There
Twitters
is.
and the whatever. 615-737-1025. Add that to the kitty to get into. But I couldn't believe, the fanboy bloggers on the Tannehill thing. I mean, they were prepared for me to lose my mind. They were ready for it. I did lose my mind. And, boy, did they make a big deal about me losing my mind. 615-737-1025. We will get to your phones. Bill Polian, though, makes 2 very important things clear as far as the Titans and A.J. Brown are concerned. And I think you need to hear them. So we'll discuss that next. 615-737-1025, Stillman & Company, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Here they come, turn 4.
Hey, it's Chase McCabe. Join me for Chasing Checkers every Sunday morning at 8 as we talk all the big stories in NASCAR, IndyCar, and the motor racing world. We'll also talk to some of the big names in the sport. It's Chasing Checkers, presented by Apple Collision Centers and the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway on ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
There's a revolutionary new way to stop mosquitoes in their tracks. Go to tiredofmosquitoes.com to see this amazing technology. There's never been anything like it before. Tiredofmosquitoes.com.
Bob's Steak and Chop House is a renowned award-winning steakhouse in major cities across the U.S. Nashville is lucky to have a location here in downtown at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Fine dining is brought to a new level at Bob's with awards like the Wine Spectator Award 4 years in a row, TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence 5 years in a row, and Open Tables Diner's Choice Award 6 years in a row. Fine dining at its best. Bob's Steak and Chop House, open Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 10 p.m. in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Complimentary valet parking is always available.
If you snore, it may be a sign of a more serious, possibly life-threatening condition. Most people think of snoring as a nuisance, but it's a much more serious medical condition than you think. Snoring has been associated with chest pain, sleep apnea, high blood pressure, chronic pain, obesity, headaches, and sore throat. Take a listen to what some of our patients are saying about the revolutionary Vivo system.
Right after I started using it, I noticed the results really, especially with the snoring. My sleep apnea episodes are a fraction of what they were before. This product's phenomenal. It changed my life.
I am 100% happy that I did this, and I'm thankful every day that I have it.
If you're curious about our sleep devices, call now for a sleep consultation. Don't let your spouse have to sleep in the guest room, and don't risk the severe health complications of snoring and sleep apnea.
Dr. Kelly Rice is certified to provide the Vivo system to open the airway for a better night's sleep. Call 615-373-4488 or go to BrentwoodSleepApnea.com to see which therapy can work best for you.
Individual results may vary. Always seek the advice of your health provider with any questions regarding a medical condition.
Mike Capel here, serial entrepreneur with words from another happy payroll customer.
Patriot Software has saved our business by allowing me to focus on other aspects of the business rather than spending so much time on multiple platforms to do the things entailed on running a business. I found Patriot by complete accident, and I don't regret it. It is continuing to save our company, and I'm extremely excited to see what else it entails.
Easy to learn, easy to use, small business software tailored just for you.
Visit us at patriotsoftware.com. Use promo code RADIO and get 2 months of payroll free. That's patriotsoftware.com.
With patriotsoftware.com, accounting and payroll, keep your time and money.
Hey Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
If you've missed any of today's show, just search Stillman and Company on Apple, Spotify, or your favorite podcast platform.
Bill Bollion's got two things that I want to get for you, and we'll do that. 615-737-1025. Elon Musk is buying Twitter.
Yes, I have kept up with that a little bit over the weekend.
Can I just tell you, I don't care.
Okay. Am I wrong in not caring about that?
I don't care at all.
I don't have a strong opinion
I'm on
about
Twitter.
it either way.
I'm not one of these people that's like, I think Twitter's stupid, I don't use it. I mean, I use it fine.
I use Twitter every day.
I do not care.
I just have a feeling that this is something that's really blown up, but on our day-to-day usage of Twitter, we won't really tell a difference.
Like, I think,
maybe I'm wrong in thinking that.
I think Elon Musk, this is my opinion, I think it's ridiculous that he wants to buy Twitter because it's a power thing, right? Like, It's like Zuckerberg at Facebook. He likes that he has the power to basically make people think one way or another. And even though he'll never say that he likes that he has the power, I think that that's why people like that, is they like the power to control people.
Well,
right?
I think Elon Musk views Twitter, who has banned a lot of content or pulled a lot of content off of the website.
Sure.
He thinks that is an infringement of your First Amendment right. So I think Elon Musk publicly is saying, I want to buy Twitter so it can be more of a free speech platform rather than so much filtration on the app.
Do you think he's really buying it because he wants to be able to do that, or do you think he's buying it because he wants power to be able to do what he wants?
I think there's a little bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, involved.
Like
there.
for me, if I had that kind of money, like I'm buying the Atlanta Braves and I'm not worried about anything else. Like we're trying to win and that's what we're doing.
I'm buying shoes.
But because like the idea of like controlling people's thoughts or allowing I don't care. But again, I really don't care about Elon Musk buying Twitter. But there are a lot of people who are worked up about that.
Yeah, there are. Well, I think it's because I use Twitter for something that Elon Musk has nothing to do. Like, I can just tweet about football all day long, and Elon Musk isn't going to say anything about it.
But I guess the point I'm making is the people that are all worked up about this or care about this, I think care about it a lot more than the people who don't care about it. And I think most people don't care.
I would say that's probably fair.
I think 23% of America is on Twitter, and I think 8% of those accounts are active.
Yeah. Like, there's such a small percentage of people who actually use Twitter, and it's really just like a news platform and a sports platform, and like very few people are on Twitter just for funsies.
Which goes back to the fanboy argument that like they get a lot of likes and stuff when they tweet about, me saying something about Tannehill or defending Tannehill or something like that. And I just don't think that many people care. So let's go to your phones as promised because Caroline says that they're absolutely popping. Phone lines are driven by WilsonCountyHunter.com. James is waiting on Tennessee fans. Thank you for calling. Thank you for holding. Go ahead, James.
Oh, thank you, Jay, for taking my phone call. I was really shocked when you came when you went to the next commercial break before and talked about a fan base being upset with you. Naturally, the UT fan base came to mind. And I'm one of these UT fans, man, that I don't have my head in the clouds. And I listen to this show every day on the way to work. I'm in the restaurant business. I actually met you and Floyd at Jeff Ruby's when I worked there when you guys first got started. I don't know if you remember or not. Yeah,
back in the day.
But back in the day. Can't believe it's been that long. But anyways, that you are so honest to the point of being brutal. And sometimes I'm like, why is Jared saying that? But when I stop and I really stop and take inventory of my program, I'm like, gosh, he's right. I can't tell you how many times I've sit there with my friends that have talked about, while they're bashing you about, he hates Tennessee, he hates UT. No, the guy does not hate UT. He is just telling the truth. And I'm surprised you didn't bring that up. I mean, I feel like you get more, I don't know because I'm not on Twitter, but I feel like you get more heat from the UT fans for speaking the truth than you do the Titan fans. I don't know. I just wanted to throw that up and remind you of that. Guys, you guys do a great job. Don't stop.
Thanks, James.
I appreciate it, guys. Have a good day.
Yep, thank you, James. Look, I think Tennessee's going to win the baseball championship.
Well, yeah, this baseball team is insane.
I mean, I think Tennessee's going to win the national championship in baseball. And I think if I'm Vanderbilt, the only thing I care about the rest of the year is trying to finish ahead of Tennessee. Like, that's all I care about is can I beat Tennessee? Because if you're Vanderbilt and Tennessee wins a national championship, everything that you have that's, the one thing that you have on them is gone.
Bowling.
Yeah, that doesn't count. So the only thing that they have is baseball. As far as telling it how it is, we were talking about this during the break. And it was when I watched the Preds game on Thursday night. And I leaned over to my dad when I think Tampa scored the second goal or the fourth goal, or I can't remember. But there was a point in time just watching the game. And I said to my dad, and I love the Predators. I'm a season ticket holder. I go to the games. If I hadn't broken my toe yesterday, I would have gone to the game last night. I was kind of bummed out I didn't go last night. But I turned to my dad watching the game, and I could just go, we stink. And you and I have had this conversation off the air before, which is all I care about is winning. Like, that's all I care about. What does it take for the Titans and the Predators and the Vols? What does it take for them to win? I don't care. If it means get rid of the coach, then get rid of the coach, bring in a new coach. If it means get a new GM, go out, get a new GM, get a new quarterback, and it's all about, now you may disagree with what I think of what it takes to win or what you need to have to win, but that's what I believe. And I've never understood, and so I just ignore it. But the people that only want to hear good things and how worked up they get about only wanting to hear good things, I don't care what somebody says Monday through Friday. What are you doing on Sunday? That's what I care about. Like KD and Kyrie. Kevin Durant, I'm sorry. If they lose tonight and they get swept by Boston, then it'll be 3 years since they decided to get together in Brooklyn, and they hadn't won jack. And, you cannot say that Kevin Durant has had a better career than Steph Curry when Steph Curry is competing for the championship still. He was competing for the championship and winning the championship before KD, and now he's competing for the championship after KD. And so you can't say that. Well, I have no problem with Kevin Durant, but it's just telling the truth. They're like, hey, I know you might be the most talented basketball player ever. I don't know how you guard Kevin Durant. free play, and yet Kevin Durant's won 2 championships in which he joined a team that was already winning championships. Well, like, that's not good.
Well, sometimes the truth isn't very fun. Do you ever want to go to the doctor and the doctor says you're too fat, you need to lose weight?
No.
It's not a fun thing
People don't
to
like
hear.
it. It's like the dentist.
It's not fun. Yeah, it's not fun to hear that you haven't been flossing and you have 3 cavities that need to be filled. That's a really harsh reality that a lot of people would like to avoid if they could. And whenever people put so much I guess like personal investment, like emotional investment into their teams. I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you're guilty of it. Whenever you associate yourself with those teams, hearing bad things about those teams is a bad reflection of you. And you don't want to hear that.
Nope.
You don't want to hear that your team can't compete for the Super Bowl because their quarterback sucks. That's not fun to hear. You don't want to hear. You need to lose 25 pounds. That's not fun to hear, but sometimes it's something that you have to hear.
Affirmation versus information. I don't understand why people hear what they want to hear. Like, you know how, like, if you vote a certain way in America, there's a television channel for you?
Yeah.
I'll tell you this. I don't watch the channels that talk about the way that I vote because even to me, it's too much for me. Like, it's like, I can't listen to this. I want to know the truth. That's why I watch
about the truth.
CNBC, because they talk about the money. You can't lie about the money because there's a scoreboard there.
Money talks.
Dow Jones down 900 points. Well, you better talk about that. You can't ignore it. I mean, it happened. 615-737-1025. I thought we'd get to more of your phones there. We did not. 615-737-1025. We will get to the Polian stuff because I think it's important. And I have heard some tea out of Jacksonville. We'll get to that later this hour as well. Meanwhile, Caroline wants to tell you about the Caesars Sportsbook app.
Yes, I do. It is time for the Caesars Sportsbook Report. Now, Caesars Sportsbook is giving out first bet insurance for all of their new users, up to $1,100, which is a good bit of insurance. So I would check that out if I were you. Just download the app and use promo code CZR. One word, radio CZR. Then place your first bet. And if you win, congratulations. You just got a little bit richer. But if not, you'll get your first wager back as a free bet. Now, if you need something to put your money on for your first bet, look into some of the college football playoff futures. I know I'm looking forward to college football, and I want any sort of information that I can get. Now, there have been 38 college football title bets of at least $1,000 placed so far in the Caesars Sportsbook app. And you have your repeat offenders. You've got some people throwing $1,000 plus on Ohio State to win the national title. You've got Alabama on the national title, but tied with third with 3 apiece are Texas A&M, 22-1 title odds, and also Utah State. There have been 3 separate bettors that have put $1,000 plus on Utah State to win the national title. Now, that's a lot of confidence they put into Utah State there. I don't know if I share that confidence. I would probably, if I'm going to put that much money on the national title winner, I'll probably go Ohio State or Alabama, the repeat offenders. So a lot of bold decisions there being made there in Utah. That's not what I'm going to do, but hey, if you believe in it, do it your way and do it with the Caesars Sportsbook app. Must be 21 and physically present in Tennessee. New users only. Bet amount of qualifying wager returned only if wagers are settled as a loss. Paid as a single bet credit. Must be used within 14 days. See Caesars.com/promos for full terms. Gambling problem? Call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789. Caesars Sportsbook. Download it, people.
This is Mikhail Kralin, and this is Smashville.
The rebound shoveled in by Mikhail Gronlund, and the Predators have tied it up on the power play.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network. ESPN 1025, The Game.
Realizing Geico is your one-stop shop for all your insurance needs is like realizing you can just toss the whole measuring cup into the washer so it won't get gunked up with laundry detergent.
I guess it doesn't work for coffee mugs, huh?
It's something that's been right in front of you this whole time, like how Geico offers 24/7 emergency roadside service to help you when you need it most. Or how athletic wristbands aren't for your wrists, they're for wiping sweat off your forehead.
Great. So, what are headbands for?
80s night at the dance club. Woo!
It's something you can't believe you never realized before, like how Geico makes it easy to bundle your home and car insurance, with even more ways to save when you add boat, motorcycle, and RV insurance, or how a pony is its own animal and not just a baby horse.
So, what's a baby pony called?
Getting more ways to save. It's just one of the many reasons to switch to Geico. They're all right there in front of you.
It's the official Bud Light Preds watch party as your Nashville Predators take on the Colorado Avalanche this Thursday night. Puck drops at 8, but the party starts at 7:30 with all kinds of specials. See you at headquarters, Beercade, downtown Nashville on 2nd Avenue. Go Preds!
Signs First is the official sign company for 1025 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Nashville is growing, and so are we. The Nashville Sheriff is hiring correctional officer trainees. Starting pay is $38,300. After 8 weeks paid training, earn $41,767. Come join our team and ask about our new paid job shadowing program. Join the best in correction. Apply now at sheriff.nashville.gov/apply or call 615-862-8170. That's 615-862-8170. The Nashville Sheriff, we're more than corrections.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, it's Max Kellerman, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
And that's been going on with the receiver market. Where do you stand right now?
Yeah, we've had some discussions with his reps. And when he was here a couple weeks ago, I talked to him, and working through that. Not going to get into any details with contract negotiations. Never have really done that, but we've made it public about how we feel about AJ and how we wanted to be a part of this football team.
There you go. John Robinson says he wants AJ to be a part of the team, doesn't foresee trading AJ. But then when asked about the negotiations, say, we don't go into that now. But we do know from the Debo stepmom Instagram video last week that the Titans have offered $20 million a year, and that according to the agent, according to AJ, according to Debo, that the Titans know he's worth more and they're not going to give it to him. So they've offered $20 million a year. And what did I report last week? That in February, late February, so combine time, AJ's camp thought AJ was getting a 4-year, $80 million contract from the Titans.
And then the Debo Samuel video comes out and says $20
They've
million.
offered.
Yeah.
So
that all adds up.
Everybody's talking about what the Titans should do or what they have to do. We already talked about Joe Rexrode's taking the Athletic. $25 million a season and $70 guaranteed, which means more than Stephon Diggs in terms of the average value at 24, and more than Devontae Adams in guaranteed money at 70. Devontae's at like 67, which I just don't think AJ belongs in the Devontae or the Stephon Diggs or the Tyreek Hill category. And Bill Polian was discussing the 4 receivers that we all know about, Debo, AJ, DK, and Terry McLaurin, about them. And there's 2 really important things that I think Bill Polian points out. Now, before we get to what exactly Polian said, I do want to start it with this. 1, we know what side of the table Bill Polian has sat on. This is the team's side. Now, he's not advocating pro-Titans, pro-Seahawks, pro-Niners, whatever, but he is telling you how the GM of these teams views it. And here's the first thing that I think is really important for people to understand is who really holds the chips in this scenario.
The rule in the CBA says you can, if you want to, as a club, begin to negotiate an extension for a player after his 3rd year. But there's no obligation to do it. But the receivers and the agents create the impression that there is an obligation to do it. There is not. So the club can turn around and say, no, we're in the case of Debo Samuel, for example. Hey, Debo, you're half running back, half wide receiver, and you take a lot more hits than the average wide receiver does. And maybe we want to wait another year to see if you can get through healthy, to see what your lifespan is. That's cold and cruel and calculating, but that's how you determine who gets paid.
So think about this. If AJ doesn't want to be here, if AJ gets mad at the Titans or whatever, we saw last week he took Tennessee out of his Twitter bio. But if AJ feels this way, and we asked last week when Debo requested a trade, we said, what's it mean for AJ? And that if Debo does get traded, then will AJ feel more empowered to ask for a trade? Or if he doesn't, will AJ be more reliant to take the Titans contract? What Polian's saying there is the teams control the situation. Now, the agents and the players are trying to tell you after 3 years, we want our money. Kyler Murray, we want our money. Kyler scrubs his Instagram. His agent puts out some stupid letter. Report comes out he won't show up. Are you going to trade Kyler? 0 chance. So the answer is no. And Kyler wants his money, and supposedly Kyler won't show up, but Kyler can't do that. Kyler doesn't have any leverage. Debo doesn't have any leverage. AJ doesn't have any leverage. The Titans can keep AJ at $3.9 million this year. If AJ signs that 4-year, $80 million contract, which we believe is what the offer is, my guess is AJ's probably looking around at a $20 million signing bonus. So you can either have $20 million this year, or you can have $3.9 million this year that you have to earn over 17 weeks. Which one would you prefer? So we're giving you a little something here, so you got to give us a little something here.
Right.
And we don't have to give it to you. You're not a free agent. And if you are a free agent after this year, we'll franchise tag you. And then if we want to franchise tag you again, we'll do that too. And ask Dalton Schultz of the Cowboys, who would have gotten a lot of money as a free agent tight end. Ask Mike Gesicki of the Dolphins, who would have gotten a lot of money as a free agent tight end. Ask them how this works. And the second thing that I think is important, again, going back to Joe's column, Diana Rossini last week on ESPN asked, what do you think a final contract for AJ would look like? 25, 26 million. Joe in The Athletic, 25 million. And by the way, this, I think, if anything else, highlights that Rossini's source is Vrabel and not Robinson, because Robinson's not paying 20. If Robinson offered 25 million today, AJ would be signing an extension with the Titans.
And he hasn't done that.
So
that
it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen this year. It might happen if the Titans franchise tag him or whatever,
And
but
the market
it's
goes
not.
up.
Yeah, it ain't happening this year. And so Rossini said 25, 26. Joe said 25. And Polian was asked about how much money he would give these receivers. Here's what Polian said on SiriusXM NFL Radio.
Between 18 and 22, for me, for these guys, I would probably say, and again, I don't want to farm the GM's land because it's not my money. But, if the agent came in and said, I want 22, and you could settle at 20 for any of these fellas and get a reasonable level of guarantee. In Debo's case, base the guarantees, rolling guarantees on health going forward, I would probably entertain it. But once you get into that 25 range, boy, now you're talking about the high rent district. And I'm not sure that you'd want, at least for now, to go there. Maybe a year from now when they're approaching free agency, yes, but not now.
If they play this year at their $3.9 million in the case of A.J. Brown, if he plays this year and has another great year, then does that put A.J. in the high rent district? To Polian's point, goes back to Philip Forsberg, another example of, would you have paid Forsberg $9.5 million before the start of this year? Hell no. You would not have done that, but you're in the high rent district, and he's got leverage now. He's got the leverage. And in the case of the Titans, if you franchise tag AJ, you don't have as much leverage as you have right now. But right now, Polian's telling you, he uses the Debo example. I think it's probably fair with AJ about the injury guarantees. And what did Polian say? Not to farm their land, 18 to 22. What's in the middle of 18 to 22?
20, which has already reportedly been offered.
That's what the Titans are offering. Mm-hmm. And so I'm not sitting here saying that Polian is completely right, but I'm telling you, this is how the Titans are viewing it. It's easy to write your column and say, 25 million. But it's another thing when you say, okay, now you're making more money than Stephon Diggs. And 70 million. Now you're guaranteed more money. You're guaranteed $9 million more than you would have if you tag. And you're guaranteeing that money, which means that if AJ gets hurt next year and plays 4 games, you still owe AJ, somewhere in the ballpark of $45 million. Whereas if you go play, tag, you don't owe AJ anything. And if AJ gets hurt, you tell me the going rate for a wide receiver who's pretty good but can never stay healthy.
Well, and I think also once you commit to 25, once you commit to 70 million guaranteed, then that's the precedent that you're setting. And then, wide receivers in the future, Jeffrey Simmons with a contract coming up, you've already set your precedent that if you're not going to be happy with the first offer or really, the most sensical offer, the offer that makes the most sense within the rest of the market for that position, then you can stomp your foot and demand more, and you will get much, much more.
Sure.
And, that doesn't make, in business-wise, that's not a very smart business decision. And if you just want to sign A.J. Brown, if you're looking at it from just a football point of view, you may say just, throw whatever money that the guy wants and just sign him and keep him here because that's what makes this football team better. But there's a business side of things, and that's not a smart business decision.
Well, and also, the Joe point, and we talked about this when I asked him about guaranteeing A.J. Brown all that money, but the Joe Rexrode point of saying, well, you got to keep him happy. And I'm not one to sit there and pocket watch, but if I'm giving you $20 million a season and I'm doing it in a year where you're scheduled to make $3.9 million, and that would make you the 6th highest paid wide receiver in the NFL, the only guys that would be paid more than you are all better than you and somehow DJ Moore. There's some level of talking about what's fair. And if the Titans are offering 4 years, $80 million, with $20 million, with $60 million of it guaranteed, that seems like a fair offer.
Mm-hmm.
Again, the tags for 3 years would be $61 million. So that seems like a fair offer. And if you're AJ...
But it's easy for us to say that's a fair offer whenever we're not the ones receiving the money.
But don't you think it's a fair offer?
I do, yeah. So if you look at the rest of the market, yes, that absolutely is a fair offer.
And you
but
also
AJ
have to think about...
obviously doesn't view it like
you have
that.
to think about, time value. So if you get $25 million today, when you're scheduled to make $4 million, what is that money worth 2 years from now? You know what I mean?
Right.
So if you have to wait each year to get paid, so you're getting $31 million 2 years from now, and there's no guarantee that you get the $31 million 2 years from now, but you have to wait 2 years to get the $31 million, as opposed to getting $25 million.
I'd take
today,
the money up front.
Anybody would take $25 million,
especially
up front
when
today.
you're dealing with injury.
And we're talking about that kind of money too. Now, did you hear here's the other thing that we haven't talked about that Polian just brought up there, which was, I'll get to it on the other side. And I do have some thoughts on Jacksonville that I want to get to because I have heard some tea. So we'll get into that too. We'll just put it all there. And your phone, 615-737-1025 is our phone number, 615-737-1025. Seltzerland is turning Nashville into a hard seltzer paradise on Saturday, April 30th at the Riverside Golf Links. Enjoy this one-of-a-kind immersive experience as you spend the day tasting over 100 unique hard seltzers, indulge in mouth-watering munchies, tons of seltzer swag, and bust out the gram for the most Insta-worthy moments. Seltzerland has rounded up the best hard seltzer brands in the land for one epic day dedicated to the bubbly brew everyone can't get enough of. Go to thegamenashville.com/contest to enter for your chance to win tickets to Seltzerland.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Scattered showers will be with us for the remainder of the afternoon and into the early evening hours. Clouds will gradually clear. We're left with a cool night ahead with lows in the low 50s. Temperatures in the mid-60s on Tuesday. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
There's a revolutionary new way to stop mosquitoes in their tracks. Go to tiredofmosquitoes.com to see this amazing technology. There's never been anything like it before. tiredofmosquitoes.com.
Don't miss the historic opening of Geodis Park on May 1st as Nashville SC comes home for the first time of the 2022 season. Become a season ticket member starting at only $357 to ensure you are there for the big day. Come on in and grab a seat at NashvilleSC.com/22ticks.
Smokeville Smoke Shop has been serving Hendersonville and Metro Nashville since 2015 and is committed to providing high-quality, hands-on, and personable customer service. Stop into Smokeville Smoke Shops in Hendersonville, Gallatin, Hermitage, and Goodlettsville to try any of their wide selection of locally sourced products and selection of top nationwide brands, including vapes, hookah, hand-blown glass, detox systems, e-juices, kratom products, leaf wraps, and much more. Visit Smokeville Smoke Shops today.
Nashville's best deal of the week is Penne Pazza in L&L Market in West Nashville. Penne Pazza is Nashville's best and most authentic Italian restaurant, serving farm-to-table pasta dishes, signature pizzas, salads, and more in their open kitchen concept. Head to thegamenashville.com/deals now to get half off a $30 gift card to Penne Pazza while supplies last. That's thegamenashville.com/deals. Penne Pazza, crazy good Italian cuisine.
Darren McFarland.
He's cool. He's got a personality, and they make fun of him.
Willie Donick.
Would this be a fun guy to come to work and hang around with all day?
Chase McCabe.
They're just like, hey, we need you to play yourself.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
This is Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving.
Where do you fit these four guys into that model? Are they of that same tier?
Well, no, they're not. Brown probably comes closest because he's a big power receiver, but he can get open, he can separate. You do have to recognize where he is at all times. But then again, Tennessee is reliant so much on the run that, would you want to invest that kind of money in a wide receiver? The answer is probably yes, because you say we only need one guy with that phenomenal running game, so he's it. So that's kind of the way I would. I don't want to farm Johnny Robinson's land, but that's probably the way I would look at it.
That was Bill Polian on SiriusXM NFL Radio. He doesn't want to farm Johnny Robinson's land. You know who has no problem farming John Robinson's land?
You.
Me.
Yep.
I got no problem with it. We were wearing the same shoes, apparently. I have no problem with that. My steeplechase shoes from last year, I noticed at the press conference, John Robinson was wearing the same shoes that I wore.
I wonder if he got them for steeplechase.
He probably didn't, but he probably got them from the same place.
Maybe so.
Amazon.
Amazon, the fancy French fashion website?
Nope. Nope. No.
Amazon?
No. But I call them my Amazons, and I was looking at John's shoes, and I was like, I know those shoes. Those are the navy blue versions. I have the light blue versions of my Amazons.
Well, maybe you guys can mix and match.
Maybe. I don't know. But I don't want to farm his land, but I'm going to on this. And that is, we talk about all the money for AJ, right? And it seems like the money's important. You heard the phone conversation with Debo and everything else. But the Polian thing that I thought was interesting was talking about Debo. And about how injury guarantees, because Debo runs the ball and Debo takes hits. And, we've said that in all the contracts that we would offer A.J. Brown, a no-trade clause is not an option.
Mm-hmm.
What about injury guarantees? Now, I've said that if you're going to sign A.J. to a big contract and you're going to do it, then, the guarantee, you have to make the decision today that you are not worried about the injury problems and that if A.J. gets hurt, you're going to lose. But what if the Titans offered A.J. a contract but said, hey, as every time that someone would say, it's guaranteed for $25 million every time, and this is kind of a pain doing this show, but the GM used to always say, well, what's it guaranteed for? Because there's injury, cap, and skill. And I wonder if you're the Titans, do you guarantee it for cap and skill, but not guarantee it for injury? And if you do that, I think there's a humongous contention that has nothing to do with years, nothing to do with money, and everything to do with something else that's very hard to work through. Bud Dupree, for instance, has a contract in which he gets a lot of per-game bonuses. Well, why does he get per-game bonuses? Because they want Bud Dupree to be healthy. Mm-hmm. And if Bud Dupree is not healthy, then Bud doesn't get the money. And so with AJ, he probably just wants the money and wants it guaranteed. And we're debating, is 20 enough? Well, did the market Christian Kirk's 18? So if Christian Kirk's 18 or then Christian Kirk's 17 or whatever. But if he's 17, then what do you make about? Robert Woods makes a lot of money. Robert Woods makes $16.25 million. But almost none of it for the Titans is guaranteed after this year. The Titans owe Robert Woods $10 million this year. Mm-hmm. They owe him no money next year, no money the next year, and no money the next year. But
no
they've
money
got
guaranteed.
him, right, but they've got him for 4 years. So, I mean, every year is an option for Robert Woods.
Right.
I look at this situation when you hear Polian bring up the injury guarantees and you wonder, okay, how much of that is part of the AJ discussion? We talk about the money. I told you I'd go to $22.5 for AJ. $22.5 a year. You're paying him what I think it's like 26 or 27 or something in that last year. You figure the cap will go up enough, the wide receiver market will go up enough. Okay, that's fine. And then you can, work on a next deal if AJ is worth the next deal. And we don't know if it'll be worth the next deal 5 years from now, but that is something you have to think about. I really believe that those little things that are not sexy, talking about a contract, those do matter. About, hey, how can we protect ourselves against AJ's injury history on a new contract? And nobody talks about him because they don't, write a column for him. But I could see that being as much of an issue right now as the money and the years.
And do you think a no-trade clause would be in there as well? Do you think that's something that AJ is demanding that the Titans just absolutely, positively won't move on?
About what?
In terms of his contract. I mean, we talk about, 20 versus 22. I mean, clearly from the Deebo Samuel video, we learned that 20 didn't seem like it was enough. But I do wonder, is there something else that AJ wants that the Titans aren't willing to deal, being a no-trade clause?
I'm going to have to be on that conversation there with AJ and Tory Dandy and Deebo before I can get – I need Mom's Instagram.
I need more Instagram lives.
I need some more info from Mom.
Deebo and AJ.
Now, again, like TD and I were texting earlier, and TD was talking about how we talk about average per year as a mythical figure and then saying, okay, well, what about 25 and 22? But again, to give AJ a contract that I thought was fair on both sides, which the more I've talked to people, the more I'm convinced that my contract that I gave out for AJ, and I was right there on Derrick Henry's contract. But the more I've talked to people, the more I worry that my contract was too generous to AJ. And that average was 22.5.
64 guaranteed?
Yeah, and that was to inflate the fourth year, but you can't inflate the fourth year so much that you move off of it. It's obvious that matters to him. So, and this goes back to Floyd's old thing, which was in a negotiation, you get one thing, you get two things, I get two things, and then you get one thing, I get one thing, and then so if the average per year matters to AJ, then I can give you the money, but the guaranteed money and what I'm getting, like I'm getting more out of this than you're getting out of this. But that where it comes into play is if you think that there's a chance that you would want him on that fourth year. If not, make the fourth year $50 million. I don't care, and then cut him. But you don't want to put yourself in a position to where you have to do that because then if you have to
and
do
what
that,
if he's lights
then
out
you
in
lose
those 3
them,
years?
and then it's
Right.
So like that's where again, it's like the cap is fake because there's always ways around the cap. But there being money that you have to pay that you don't want to pay because you screwed around with the cap is real. And that's like, again, if the average value is fake, which it is, there are repercussions at the end if you do whatever it takes to inflate it. I do want to get to the Jacksonville tea.
Yeah.
Because there is some Jacksonville tea. So right now, word on the street, and this is not like the tea that you're like that I'm about to give you. But word on the street is from all the insiders that Jacksonville's picking between Aiden Hutchinson, Trayvon Walker, and now there's a rumor that Ikwanu, the tackle from NC State, is going to be in the mix, and that who is the other tackle from Alabama? Neal. Here's what I've heard. What I've heard is that the way internally inside the Jacksonville Jaguars, they believe that Trayvon Walker will be the better player than Aiden Hutchinson. But there is a feeling that the general manager, Trent Baalke, and this is his call. Shad Khan is going to, be the owner here, and ultimately the owner gets the final call. But Trent Baalke feels that he has to win, from what I've been told, he has to win at least more than 6 games this year. And so Hutchinson is viewed as the more likely to be able to make an impact for Jacksonville this season than Trayvon Walker is. Again, they think Trayvon Walker is a better player than Aiden Hutchinson. The other thing in there is that Ikwanu is apparently ranked incredibly high internally in the Jacksonville front office. Now, I'm not talking about Balky, but I'm talking about their whole group. Balky, again, makes the pick. And that Ekwonu is ranked so high that I have heard that there are people in the building who scouted Trevor Lawrence last year and have scouted Ekwonu, the tackle from NC State, and actually have Ekwonu ranked as a higher player ahead of Trevor Lawrence.
Wow.
Now,
is it the same group of people or person or whatever it may be?
It
that
is
ranked?
the same, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So the same people who gave Trevor Lawrence a certain grade are giving Ekwonu a higher grade inside the Jacksonville offices. Now, I will say this. When Floyd was general manager, he listened to all that stuff, and then he made the pick.
Mm-hmm.
And Balky, you assume, will do the same thing with Jacksonville. I was told in Jacksonville, Aiden Hutchinson is most likely to be the pick. That it is the safest choice to help Trent Baalke and Jacksonville win games this year. Again, they like Trayvon Walker long-term more. And then there are people in there that just freaking love Ekwonu. The fourth player Jacksonville likes is not Evan Neal out of Alabama. From what I've been told, it's Jamison Williams. And they love Jamison Williams.
Interesting.
And if they had the 7th pick in this year's draft, where Hutchinson, Walker, and Ekwonu would all be gone, what I was told is Jamison Williams would be the pick. So that, there's no doubt that if they held the 7th pick in this year's draft, Jamison Williams would be their pick. So the 4 guys Jacksonville likes, and again, I don't know what Doug Peterson thinks, and I don't know how much Doug Peterson's opinion matters, but what I've been told is they like Walker the best, Hutchinson is most likely to be the pick, the people in there love Ekwonu, and they love Jamison Williams, but they know they can't pick him first overall. That's what I've been told.
I wonder, too, is that why they made the Christian Kirk deal? Or was that way before they had made these boards and made up their decision about Jamison Williams, where they said, okay, we can't justify taking him number 1 overall, so we'll invest in another guy that we feel like can be our future at wide receiver?
I don't know the answer to that. My guess is it has nothing to do with it.
Maybe so.
It really is just we need a wide receiver to go.
Let's just go grab one.
Yeah. So I don't think it has anything to do. I don't think they go hand in hand. My theory is if you love Jamison Williams that much, call the Giants at 7, offer next year's 1 to get Jamison Williams, and then you can tell yourself, hey, he may not play this year, but he's our first-round pick next year. And the Giants, who aren't going to move off of Daniel Jones, probably look at Jacksonville, who's picked first in the draft the last 2 years, and think that and our own pick next year should probably be enough that if we want to go up to get Bryce Young, we can go up to get Bryce Young. And Jacksonville should probably be okay with that because even if Jacksonville lands the first overall pick next year, they're not going to be drafting Bryce Young anyways. So you would probably get more
on a deal
than you would get for Jamison Williams. But if you love Jamison Williams that much, then I think that's what you should do. But again, I'm not reporting that they're thinking anything of that. All I'm reporting is that inside the building in Jacksonville, they like Trayvon Walker more than they like Aiden Hutchinson. But again, Trent Baalke is worried about his job.
Win right now.
And so the idea is they're going to take Hutchinson at 1, and that some people there swear by Ekwonu so much that they like him more than Trevor Lawrence. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. We haven't been to your phones in a while. I promise we'll get to them. But there's one lesson that I learned from the GM about the draft, and we are going to apply that next, and it involves knowing what we need to know now. We'll get to that. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The MTSU Blue Raiders live here.
Down, Middle Tennessee. 3-ball, yes, sir.
And when you're in the borough, tune us in on 97.5.
In the end zone, caught, touchdown.
We are Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Don't forget to grab your mom something special this year. Shop at Social Furniture for their Mother's Day sale, where everything is in stock. They have sofas, bedroom sets, and top-name brand new mattresses like Purple, Serta, Sealy, and Simmons on sale now. Running out of time? Well, at Social Furniture, there's no waiting and same-day delivery. Use Social Furniture's financing plan and pay no interest for 1 full year. Shop at Social Furniture today on Charlotte Avenue in West Nashville. Shop local. Shop social. Social Furniture is a proud supporter of your Nashville Predators.
Hey, Robby Stanley here to let you know you can go yard all summer long with $5 Dinger Tuesdays on FanDuel Sportsbook. This season, all customers will get $5 for every home run hit by both teams when you place a $25 to hit a home run wager on Tuesday MLB games. And the best part about Dinger Tuesdays is even if your bet loses, FanDuel will pay you $5 for every single home run hit in the game. I really like Ozzie Albies of the Braves. I like Anthony Rizzo of the Yankees as well. But you take it any way you want to take it. What are you waiting on? Just pick your home run hitter and turn big swings into big wins. There's no better place to bet America's pastime than on America's #1 sportsbook. Head over to your FanDuel account or download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up using promo code ROB. Once again, that promo code is ROB. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. A max bonus of $25. Restrictions apply. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back, and you can hear every game this season on ESPN 94.9. Grab tickets today as the Sounds host Durham, the AAA affiliate of the Tampa Bay Rays, tonight through Sunday. The action continues on the diamond in 2 weeks as Charlotte, the AAA affiliate of the Chicago White Sox, come to town. And don't forget to visit Third and Home, Germantown's bar with the ballpark, before and after every Sounds game. Visit NashvilleSounds.com for tickets, and we'll see you at the ballpark for Sounds Baseball in Hit City, where every night's a hit.
Hey, Nashville, it's Chase McKay, Program Director of ESPN 102.5 The Game, and there's a new way that you can hear Nashville's best sports talk. It's on 106.3 FM. From downtown Nashville to Spring Hill on I-65 and to Murfreesboro on I-24, you now have two choices to hear our great sports talk programming. And, of course, the Nashville Predators. Check out 106.3 now and save it as a preset.
You're the one who protects the flock, and that requires an eye for detail. Because when safety and well-being are on the line, it's the details that can save lives. Even when no one else is watching, you see everything. Grainger gets you, and we're here for you, and all the ones who get it done with a wide range of safety products and solutions, plus board-certified safety consultants here to answer your questions. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
From the Hillside Medical Game Studios, WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne, broadcasting 97.5 Murfreesboro, 106.3 Williamson County,
ESPN
102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Live from the Game Nashville studios, it's Stillman and Company. Delivered by TriStar Moving. TriStar Movers with 5-star service. With Jared Stillman on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Stillman & Company is delivered by TriStar Moving, ESPN 102.5. The game streaming live on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook Live. Thanks to the law offices of Amanda Gentry, live from the Hillside Medical Game Studios. I'm just going to tell you something. If you're one of these people that listens to the show and that you say, you need to stop talking about Floyd, you need to move on, this week is not going to be a good week for you. Because last year, unbeknownst to everybody, Floyd was battling his illness and was in the ICU during the draft. And let me tell you, that was really hard to know about and try to think about the draft at the same time. Now that we're all on the same page, this was his time of the year. There's certain things people love, and they love this, he loved that. He loved the draft, and he was great at the draft. So we're going to remember some of his greatest picks, but we're really going to use a lot of his advice as we try to decide what to do for the draft. So I want to start with this. He's talking about do's and don'ts of the draft, and he was saying the number one most important thing you do before the draft is you make every decision before you get to the clock.
Here's the number one do. Make all the decisions before draft day. Now, technically, that's going to be impossible, but you want to go through and decide, have all of your mock drafts drawn up, have your top 150 all aligned the way you want. So if there's a dispute as to who's a better player between John Jones and Bill Smith, you can look up there on your board and see how you've rated them, and you stick with that. But anything about possible trades, about possible cuts, about anything along those lines, you want those decisions made prior to draft day so that when you go in there, all you're going to worry about are the new things that are going to pop up, and there will be a bunch of those.
Okay, so I hear that, and I think let's start making decisions. So every decision about the Titans has to be made before we start the show at 2 o'clock on Thursday. Fair?
Fair.
Okay, here's what I want to do. I want to go over the needs on offense. Now, what happens a lot of the time with needs is you will ask Mel Kiper Jr., what does this team need? Well, Mel doesn't watch the Titans every week. I watch the Titans every week. But when you think of needs, they're almost always immediate questions, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So I want to go through this one by one. And I used something where I said, okay, how many more years do you have the player for, and how committed are you to the player? For instance, let's just go on offense. Quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is under contract for 2 more seasons. But you are committed to Ryan Tannehill for 1 more season. So you may not need a quarterback today, but you probably are going to at some point need a new quarterback. So that does, to me, make quarterback kind of a need in this draft.
Yeah. If you're going to look for the future.
And when I say need, I'm not saying first round. I think everybody thinks, first round need a tackle, so go draft a tackle in the first round. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, again, what do you need to have on your board that you're thinking about going into this draft? And I think quarterback is a long-term need for the Titans. Now, I hear people talk about these Bailey Zappies and Carson Strongs and these other guys that could be available in the 3rd round. You have to decide, and I'm not a quarterback evaluator, but you have to decide if these guys are eventually going to develop into starting NFL quarterbacks because, again, you do need a long-term answer at quarterback because it's not Tannehill. So put quarterback on the list of needs. Running back, Derrick Henry, 2 more years, you're committed for 1. And you're not even really committed for that, though I do think the Titans are committed to Derrick Henry for this upcoming season. But again, you're only committed for 1. Your backup option right now is Dontrell Hilliard. We know he's not a starting running back in the NFL. He's a guy that can start in a pinch as a backup, but he's not a starting running back in the NFL. Jonathan Taylor is a starting running back in the NFL. And there's a lot of guys that are kind of tweeners that you don't know about, like Damian Harris of the Patriots. I think he's a starter, but I don't know if he's a starter that can tote the rock. And again, this is an offense, the way it's constructed. Look at Shanahan, they run the football. Look at McVay, they run the football. I know they throw it a lot, but they run it a lot too. So you have to remember that the Titans are going to have to run the football, and you're only committed for 1 more year to Derrick Henry, and Derrick Henry's coming off of an injury, and his cap number inflates next year. I think running back is a need. So go ahead and put it up there, unless you have a problem with that.
No, I don't have a problem with that.
Wide receiver. In my opinion, there's 2 guys that matter here. Everybody else, Nick Westbrook-Akina, Des Fitzpatrick, Mason Kinsey, all those guys, organizational fodder. You can go get a Chester Rogers wherever you want. You can go get a Marcus Johnson wherever. Don't worry about that. There's enough teams that run your system, whether it's Atlanta, Green Bay, San Francisco, the Rams, Cincinnati, Minnesota. There's enough teams that run your system that they will cut organizational fodder guys at the end of camp, and you can bring them in and they can play. So there's 2 guys right now that I consider on, this team. A.J. Brown, who is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season, and Robert Woods, who you have signed for 4 more years, and you're committed for 1 year. Well, that may not mean if you sign A.J. to a contract, now you've got 2 receivers that you would be committed to probably for at least this upcoming season for sure, and in the case of Brown, for probably the next 3 years after this year. But this decision has to be made before the draft, you would assume, because you don't want to sit there with the 26th pick and say, well, I think we're going to sign A.J., But Treylon Burks out of Arkansas, who a lot of people compare to AJ, is sitting there with the pick. You don't want to have your hand up your rear end saying, well, I mean, I don't know what I want to do.
We hope it works out with AJ.
Because once again, remember, you got to make your decisions before Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the GM said. So let's put this to the side right now at wide receiver. Let's revisit this in a second. But I think it's pretty obvious to me. Wide receiver is a need if you don't lock up AJ. If you lock up AJ at wide receiver, you've got A.J. Brown as your number one. Robert Woods at $16 million is your number two. For most teams, that's a good enough investment at wide receiver. You can go get a slot guy. You can go put Nick Westbrook-Akina in the slot. You can put Mason Kinsey in the slot. You can get a slot guy. That I'm not so worried about.
But like Polian said, if this is going to be a run-first team, you figure it out. You plug in whatever
Sure.
wide receiver and whatever
And think
place you
about
need it.
all the really good slot guys in the league. Most of them aren't number one picks.
Right.
You know, those are usually the outside guys. Tight end. Austin Hooper's an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. Tight end is a need. And you can literally make it a first-round need, you don't have a second-round pick, but a second-round need, a third-round need, a fourth-round need. It is a need. So right now we got quarterback, running back, tight end.
Wide
Left
receiver,
tackle.
maybe.
Maybe. We'll get back to wide receiver. Left tackle. Taylor Lewan is signed for 2 more seasons. But you're only committed to him for technically none of them. But I think they're committed to him at left tackle for next year.
Right.
Well, he's 31 years old, injury problems, not the most consistent player, talks too much off the field. Is left tackle a need?
I mean, I would say yes if we're going to approach it with the scope of like a 2 to 3, 4, 5 year span, which I think that you should. You don't just draft for a single season. I would say, yeah, left tackle is a need.
Okay, put left tackle on the board. So now we got quarterback, running back, tight end, left tackle. And again, the 7 rounds in this draft. Now, the 7th, I don't really care about. The 6th, I don't really care about. I really stop it at the 5th, but you know what I mean. Left guard. Now, this one's tricky because they don't have a left guard. Like, there's not a starting left guard on the roster.
But you have plug-and-play guys that can play left guard.
It depends on how much you value the position.
Mm-hmm.
Now, again, they did sign Roger Saffold to a lot of money. So it showed us that as far as money was concerned, they cared about left guard. But John Robinson has not drafted a guard highly in the draft at any point in his tenure as general manager except Nate Davis in 2019 in the 3rd round. So how important is guard to Robinson? I don't know. How important is interior offensive line to Robinson? I don't know. Last year he could have drafted a center as the long-term replacement to Ben Jones, and he didn't. So you've got Aaron Brewer, who's a guard, who has started a little bit, and you've got Dylan Radins, who has played some guard. But I'll say this. I'm not convinced either guy is for sure a starter in the NFL. So I'm going to leave guard as a need. And I'm going to include another reason why guard is a need for me. Because Nate Davis is an unrestricted free agent at the end of 2023. Or at the end of 2022. So right now, you don't have a left guard currently, and you don't have a long-term answer at right guard if Nate Davis goes as a free agent. And Nate Davis will make money next year in free agency. And if you're worried about AJ and everything else, you know, you can't franchise tag both guys. So you got guard, interior offensive line, that's a need. Now, Ben Jones is the center. You're committed to him for 1 year. But again, you've got him for 2. I think they plan on him being here for 2 years. But we'll just put them all together, interior offensive line. Because, for instance, Linderbaum, the center out of Iowa, can play guard.
You have a couple
Zion
swing
Johnson,
guys in there.
the guard out of Boston College, can play. And so, again, here are the needs on offense right now. Quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, left tackle, interior offensive line, and then right tackle, where Joe says stick Dylan Radins there, give him a shot. I heard TD today say, and we'll get to this, but I heard TD say that he thinks the Titans view him as a right tackle. I am not going into the season with Dylan Radins as my number one option at right tackle. I will not do it. That is too much of a liability. Could he do it? Sure.
But I would rather count on him not being able to do it and then being pleasantly surprised if he can. Putting all of my confidence or putting all my eggs in a basket that I don't even know exists concerns me.
Absolutely. So now, here are your needs going into the draft. Quarterback, running back, tight end, left tackle, interior offensive line, right tackle.
So every position on offense.
Every position except for maybe running back, and that's because we haven't made up our mind on running back. 615-737-1025. Your thoughts on that. Our thoughts on that. 615-737-1025. And what do you do about wide receiver? Because Bill Polian says you only need one guy. You only need to pay one guy, and the rest is fine in this offense. That one guy would be A.J. If you sign A.J., is that it? If you're committed to signing A.J., is that it? And then you take wide receiver down? What about Radins? I think that's an important discussion in this. 615-737-1025. We'll get to that next. Stillman and Company, it's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Hey, this is Andrew Allegretta, voice of the Vandy Boys. Listen to the Commodore Hour every Monday at 6 p.m. during the baseball season. Kevin Ingram and I talk with Coach Corbin and special guests on ESPN 94.9 and streaming on the VU Commodores mobile app.
Calling a criminal defense lawyer or a divorce lawyer, you may think it's the worst day of your life. It doesn't have to be. If you have quality, competent representation who can guide you through a complex system, we can do that for you. Despite if you've been arrested for a DUI or a robbery charge, whether or not you're going through a divorce or a post-divorce, or demanding your fundamental constitutional right to parent your children. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
What if you could be debt-free in 3 weeks? Hey, Willie Donick here. My friends at Loan Pronto are helping people do it every day. It's Loan Pronto's debt consolidation home refi, wiping out tens of thousands in credit card debt. Listen, your home's value is way up. You can refinance now, take money out to pay off all your credit cards, eliminate PMI charges, pay off personal loans, or other high-interest debt. One local couple had over $50,000 in credit card debt. Loan Pronto did a debt consolidation refi, and even though their mortgage rate went up a tad, they cut their monthly payments by $900. Why pay 20% interest when you can consolidate it to one low payment with a mortgage APR in the threes? Homeowners who do it save an average of $800 a month. Do it now and even skip your next house payment altogether. That's what I call financial freedom. Call Loan Pronto now, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Finding the right person for the job isn't easy. Just ask someone who hired a lounge singer to be their office receptionist.
Hello, this is Mickey Marquis, and you've reached the office of Doug & Associates. Thank you very much. Catch me Tuesday nights at the Hotel Johnson. Hello?
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on your local Geico agent. They can bundle your policies, which could save you hundreds.
Doug & Associates, this is Mickey Marquis. Hello?
For expert help with all your insurance needs, visit geico.com/local today.
And now it's Geico's Motorcycle Rules of the Road. Avoid biking in the rain and never touch another person's bike.
Hey guys, look at these bikes. So shiny. Whoops. I'm gonna leave a note. Oh gosh, there's more.
And the rule to saving on motorcycle insurance is, in 15 minutes, Geico could save you 15% or more.
Step up to the plate with Days Date. As one of the only Delta 8 brands that is truly single-sourced, quality and consistency is our guarantee. We are local and aim to provide the purest product while educating the consumer every step of the way. Stock up with Days next time at your local smoke shop. Visit us on Instagram at days.d8.official to learn more about our wide array of products and special offers. To browse our product line, visit dazed8.com, D-A-Z-E-D, number 8.com, the highest quality standard of Delta 8.
Interact with Stillman and Company. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
For your roster, just in terms of sheer number. Receiver, tight end, offensive line, inside linebacker.
It's a lot of positions, Terry. We need a lot.
but how does this draft stack up depth-wise in some of those spots?
Yeah, I think as we've gone through the process, there's been some position groups that have shown a little more volume, maybe than other positions. But, we feel like that, the positions that can help our football team, again, as I stated earlier, you're never going to know what position you're going to need throughout the course of of an NFL season. And there's players at really at every position that we feel good about. Now whether they're there when you're able to pick, that's another thing. If I had that crystal ball, the draft would be a lot easier. But no, I think that where our football team is currently and what's available is it's a good thing.
There you go, John Robinson. And I think there's actually a lot of truth in what he's saying. I'm not sure that that it's going to give you any insight to what they're going to do. But again, as we are going over the needs on offense, and you heard John, say a lot of needs there, Terry McCormick. Again, we decided last segment, quarterback, short term, not a need. Long term,
yes.
Need. Running back, Derrick Henry, you're committed to for one more year. Need. And again, these aren't, first round needs, so take it first round. Wide receiver, we'll get to that in a second.
Maybe.
Tight end, absolutely a need. Left tackle, 31 years old, one more year committed to Lawan, 2 years on his contract, definitely a need. Left guard, don't have any starting left guard. That's a need. Center, Ben Jones, committed to for 1 year, signed for 2. He's old, definitely a need. Right guard, Nate Davis, free agent at the end of this year, definitely a need unless you're going to re-sign him. Right tackle, definitely a need. Which leaves us at wide receiver. So this is the one position that everybody, when it comes to mocking to the Titans, they say, oh, yeah, they need a wide receiver. And yet, I think it's the one position where I look at it on paper and I'm like, you got one guy you're going to give you've already offered $20 million a year to. You got another guy who you've got signed for the next 4 years, though you're only committed to one. And then you got a handful of, backup guys. Is wide receiver actually a need for the Titans?
Well, I think a lot of people look at that and say, okay, you have one guy who isn't even signed to a long-term deal yet, who deals with a lot of injuries. You have another guy who's coming into this offense for the first year, coming off of an ACL tear. I think a lot of people look at it like, yes, you have 2 legitimate starting options there, but underneath that is just a whole bunch of...
When did we start caring about ACL tears, by the way?
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that's a legitimate concern.
But I always hear people talk about the knee with Robert. No, if the knee, it's like, when's the last time a guy tore his ACL and didn't come back?
Maybe like 1995.
Okay, so what are we doing here?
Well, I mean, just say
I think Woods is the
can
perfect
Robert Woods
fit
start
for this
immediately?
offense.
Yes, he probably can. I mean, he tore his ACL November?
Right.
So
I think October he'll be back to being Robert Woods.
Yes, but I think a lot of people look at the wide receiver position and say you have 2 legitimate options who may be question marks in their own right.
But on a running team, do you need a third? I mean, we're talking about high value, right?
Well, people could also look at last year and say, well, was Tannehill's issue in the passing game the fact that A.J. Brown was in and out of the lineup, the fact that he didn't have that chemistry with Julio Jones, the fact that he was throwing to the Cam Batsons and the Nick Westbrook-Akinas and the Marcus Johnsons of the world, was that Tannehill's problem? If you subscribe to that belief that Tannehill's issue was the fact that he didn't have, consistent quality pass catchers there to throw balls to, then, yeah, wide receiver would be a need.
Okay, but in the last 4 years, you've won 2 playoff games, and you didn't throw for 100 yards in any of them. So we know that the answer to the equation is not throwing the ball.
No.
So
and the Titans find the most success when they run the ball.
I know this is crazy. I would say wide receiver is the least position of need if you've decided you're going to sign AJ. And when they say that they don't foresee trading AJ, that tells me that they are committed to keeping AJ on the team this year and probably franchise tagging him for next year if that is the worst case scenario.
But I think it's also interesting with the wide receiver position because it could be potentially, if they do sign AJ, least position of need. But if they don't sign AJ, it could be the most position of need. I mean,
is it a bigger position of need on a running team than right tackle when you've already got Robert Woods?
Yeah.
Like, remember that it was Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. Robert Woods got hurt, then it was Cooper Kupp.
Yes, and it's Cooper Kupp. What if you don't have that guy? What if they don't have AJ?
Right. What I'm saying, though, is, like, Robert Woods is good.
Yeah, Robert Woods is good.
So you have Robert
But
Woods.
is he going to be your number one guy? Is he going to be your A.J. Brown, your Cooper Kupp if Titans don't have A.J.?
Probably not.
So,
But
then, yeah,
again,
it would be a position.
they have already told us they're trying to sign him.
Yeah.
And if they don't sign him, it's not like baseball where if they don't sign him, then he goes out into free agency and there's nothing they can do. Or
If they
basketball.
don't sign him, he'll play out this year of his contract.
And then
he'll
they'll
go on
tag
from
him.
there.
What? Right. They'll tag him. And
But if we're going to talk about positions of need in the future, let's operate under the conditions that A.J. Brown only has 1 year left in his contract.
but they're not tagging. They'll tag him. They're not going to tag any of these guys.
No, we're not going to tag Taylor.
They're not going to tag. Like, again, Derrick Henry, they've got him for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
They've got Tannehill for 2 years. They've got Woods for 4 years. But, how committed are you? They're not franchise tagging Austin Hooper.
No.
So the one guy that they would tag is AJ. So the tag is there. So next year at $25 million, this year at $4 million, next year at $25 million, that's the cost of AJ. The guaranteed to you cost of AJ Brown. I would say wide receiver is not a need. Now, if they pick a wide receiver at 26, Goodell comes up and with the 26th pick, the Tennessee Titans select Trayvon Burks, wide receiver, Arkansas. Jahan Dotson, wide receiver, Penn State. If they do that, I'm probably not going to boo the pick. But I would say that as far as the Titans are concerned, I would feel pretty good about saying, okay, like that right there, was not as big of a need as guard or tackle. Now, guard is not as premium of a position as wide receiver is. Tackle is.
Yeah.
And you're a running team. Remember that. Even when Derek's not here,
they run the football.
Until you get somebody that makes you a throwing team, you are a running team. Now, if you draft the next Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jr. comes in here, you become a throwing team. But until you become a throwing team, you're not a throwing team. And if you decide you want to be a throwing team, then that changes everything about your defense. It changes everything about your team. And the Titans aren't there yet. Oh, my God. 615-737-1025 is the phone number. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Wow.
You okay?
I almost just started saying 888-MAD-DOG-6 is the phone number. 888-663-646.
Old habits die hard.
When I'm on there, so many times. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. 615-737-1025.
Just kidding. No, it's not.
We're to you on the offense next. 615-737-1025. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025. The game.
Every Friday at 8:30 on Robby and Rexrode, we talk with the legend, Terry Chris, about all things Nashville Predators, presented by Copper Branch on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
There's never been a better time to find out why BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks and my official sportsbook. Hey, it's Chase McCabe. Download the BetMGM app and place a $10 moneyline wager on any NBA playoff game. If either team hits a three-pointer in that game, you'll win $200 in free bets. All you have to do is use the code 1025GAME200 when you make your first bet. Sign up now and discover BetMGM's daily promotions, boosted odds specials, and more. Download the app or go to BetMGM.com. Use that code 1025GAME200 to win $200 if either team hits a three in any NBA playoff game. Just visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Tennessee only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford South. It's springtime, and I'm going on a limb here. I'm just going to say it. You either love Peeps or you're wrong. I hope you've heard our commercials before. My hope is that you have learned that we are a quality company that prides itself on customer service and that we like to laugh and joke a bit too. We're different than other dealerships. We don't have hidden fees. The price you see on the site is a price you pay in the dealership. We value you as a customer. We're aware that buying a car often has a stigma attached. Our goal is to overcome that bad stigma, not with flashy commercials or unrealistic giveaways, but with an honest, transparent car buying experience. We want you to come back and we want you to tell your friends. We do that by giving you great customer service. We want to make your car buying experience fast, easy, and mostly online to save you time. That's why we have Newton Fast Pass. You can work your deal and numbers online and work the deal to fit your budget. Sounds easy, right? Hop to it and visit NewtonFord.com to start your deal. See website for details. Check the deets, peeps.
Don't forget to grab your mom something special this year. Shop at Social Furniture for their Mother's Day sale, where everything is in stock. They have sofas, bedroom sets, and top-name brand new mattresses like Purple, Serta, Sealy, and Simmons on sale now. Running out of time? Well, at Social Furniture, there's no waiting and same-day delivery. Use Social Furniture's financing plan and pay no interest for 1 full year. Shop at Social Furniture today on Charlotte Avenue in West Nashville. Shop local. Shop social. Social Furniture is a proud supporter of your Nashville Predators.
312 Pizza Company is Nashville's authentic Chicago pizzeria, and they're now hiring. Work for a family-owned business and be a part of their incredible team. 312 Pizza Company is hiring for all positions, including host, waitstaff, bartenders, cooks, and more. 312 Pizza Company offers health insurance and paid time off to full-time employees. Contact Kimberly at 615-730-7888 or email at contact@312pizzaco.com. 312 is an equal opportunity employer.
ESPN's Turon Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
On the field chemistry, I don't think it's going to be a problem. It's just going to be a process.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
When you draft players, it's not just for one season, it's for a career.
Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, it's Mike Greenberg, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 1025 The Game.
Where do you fit these four guys into that model? Are they of that same tier?
Well, no, they're not. Brown probably comes closest because he's a big power receiver, but he can get open, he can separate. You do have to recognize where he is at all times. But then again, Tennessee is reliant so much on the run that, would you want to invest that kind of money in a wide receiver? The answer is probably yes, because you say we only need one guy with that phenomenal running game, so he's it. So that's kind of the way I would. I don't want to farm Johnny Robinson's land, but that's probably the way I would look at it.
I hate to tell Bill Polian this on Sirius XM NFL Radio, but when you sign up to do radio, you are farming the coaches and the general managers' land.
Mm-hmm. We farm a lot of people's land.
That's just how it is.
Sorry, Johnny.
Let's go to your phones. Again, we've said in this draft, everything is a position of need except maybe wide receiver. So, again, what's the Floyd line? You have to know. You have to make those decisions before Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
Is wide receiver a position of need for the Titans going into the draft, yes or no?
I still say yes.
Ian?
Part of me says yes. I don't know if it's the top need, but I do think there's a need.
Here's the tough thing. Finding a good wide receiver is a lot more costly or a lot harder to do than finding like a good guard.
Yeah.
But they need guards more than they need receivers if they sign AJ.
Then at that point, you just go off of your board.
I mean,
I guess you kind of have to.
It's tough, but what if running back is the top thing there? Now, we said running back's a need, but we're talking about 26, if you take a running back.
But if this is going to be truly a running team, then
don't you need another running back behind
having
Derek?
two solid running backs?
I agree. Let's go to your phones. Phone lines driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com, 615-737-1025. Ellie is going to kick us off on wide receiver speed. Thank you for calling. Go ahead, Ellie.
Oh, wide receiver is definitely the biggest need. What was the biggest issue
How is
last
it a bigger
year?
need than right tackle where they don't have a right tackle?
Oh, Dylan Radins. Quisenberry was a right tackle. You don't think Radins could do a better job than Quisenberry?
Think about this. Quisenberry started half the season at left tackle 2 years ago, started every single game at right tackle last year, and the Titans didn't want to tender him for $2 million, and he signed with Buffalo last week. They're telling you that they value Jeff Swaim more than they value what they got out of a starting right tackle in Quessenberry last year. So the answer is he's not a starter.
Who still started over Dylan Radins.
Yeah.
That was his first year. You know what? I think Radins, he could do a decent job. I think he'd be better than Quisenberry. But what we need is, we lost when A.J. Brown was not in there. We need a wide receiver. And then think of it. If you get another wide receiver, maybe the year after that, it'll be more tempting for a quarterback to sign with us who has a couple of good wide receivers out there. And we have a player like Jahan Dotson who reminds me so much of Antonio Brown's skill set. All he does is go forward, and he should be the guy we should target. Treylon Burks is just a Similar to Jonnu Smith, the way he plays, he's not going to be much. And unfortunately, I think the Titans will probably end up taking Christian Watson. But thank you.
Yep, thank you, Ellie. Let me tell you this right now. I take Jonnu Smith right now on the Titans. I know he didn't have a good year last year in New England.
But they also didn't really play him as much as the Titans played him in the
think
past.
they struggled with how to use him.
Yeah.
I would take Jonnu Smith right. We can sit there and say Treylon Burks, and I don't know where you get the Jonnu Smith thing from, but Jonnu Smith just got $50 million. If you can tell me that the guy, think about how the Titans have picked over the last couple of years. If you can tell me that the guy that they pick 26th overall be worth $50 million in 4 years, I'd do it.
You'd pick him.
Yes. Because
Unfortunately, we don't know
Rashawn
that,
Evans ain't worth $50 million. That's the crux of the situation here. Again, do we have what TD said today on Dylan Radins? I want to get this because, and I'm not saying TD's wrong, because TD's got good sources, and I think some of this is his opinion, some of this opinion is what he's hearing. I am not willing to go with what he said, the caller, what Joe said, Joe on Jared versus Joe, that was like, Radins deserves the first crack at right tackle. I'm not willing to go there with Radins. This is what TD said today on Darren Donick and Chase when he was asked about Dylan Radins.
I think they see him as a tackle, right tackle. I think that's what he was originally selected for, and they see him there. I don't think he really got an open Quisenberry just kind of thrust himself into the starting role. So I think they see him as a tackle, right tackle specifically.
I mean, it'd be great if Radins was the right tackle next year and was a good right tackle for the next 3 years. But as far as making decisions before the draft, off of what I know, I'm not walking into Thursday night thinking he's my right tackle. I can't do it.
I mean, worst case scenario is you think he might be your right tackle, you draft someone to be your right tackle, and Dylan Radins turns out to be the guy, the
right.
answer.
And then you let Lawan go, and then one of them plays left tackle, the other one plays right
and
tackle.
you have two legitimate options at tackle. I mean, that's worst case scenario if you decide to draft a tackle. But I don't necessarily feel comfortable, just banking on something that I don't necessarily know is true. Something that I don't know is a sure thing.
Let's go to your text line, 615-737-1025. What do we have there?
Ben texts in and says, cornerback. Got to go get a cornerback that can start. If Farley isn't good to go and one guy gets hurt, we will have the worst group in the league. It doesn't have to be a starter, but he has to be able to start.
Okay, so defense is tomorrow. I don't know if people put this together. We did what are the needs on offense today. Defense is tomorrow.
Yep.
I don't give two poops about corner.
I mean, with a defensive front,
I don't care.
That good.
In the NFL, it doesn't matter. Corner does not matter in the NFL anymore. It doesn't. The rules do not allow you to play corner anymore. So you have to sack the quarterback, or you have to pressure the quarterback, or you have to do something.
The Titans did a pretty damn good job of that last year.
They pressured the quarterback. So corner, depth guys, fine. But right now, let's take Farley out of it. Let's say Farley doesn't play. Now, I think they're banking on Farley playing. And again, it's an ACL, and what did we say about ACLs?
Well, it's also the back.
I'm worried about Farley's health overall.
Yeah.
But as far as the
most
ACL,
recent injury,
I'm not worried about ACL. Right now, the Titans have 4 corners. They've got Fulton, they've got Jackson, they've got Molden, and Jackson is an inside-outside guy.
Mm-hmm.
Molden, who's a slot guy, and they've got Buster Screen. I'm fine with that. Like, going into the season with that, I'm fine with that. Add Farley, now you got 5. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with all those guys. Do I like my chances if Chris Jackson is matched up man for man with Jamar Chase in a playoff game if you don't get to Joe Burrow? No. But I don't like my chances with the rules the way they are with anybody on Jamar Chase in the NFL. Even the last play of the Super Bowl where he threw it to P. Ryan and P. Ryan didn't make an attempt to go get the ball, Chase had Jalen Ramsey beat for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
But Joe just didn't.
Jalen Ramsey.
Right, he's the best corner in the NFL.
Yeah.
Joe just didn't have the time to see Jamar Chase to throw it. That's the name of the game now. You can't hit the receivers anymore. What else we got?
One texter texts in with what I think is a bit of her sarcastic tone.
Give it to me.
So
give it to me in your sarcastic tone.
So our offense is just that bad. We need every position. Got it.
I mean, if the offense was better, how good would the Titans have been last year? Ask yourself that question.
Really good.
If the
offense was better, the Titans could have gone to the Super Bowl.
And what could they have done in the Super Bowl?
Won it.
Okay.
And also, our list of needs doesn't just come down to skill.
And it doesn't just come down to 2023.
No.
2022, excuse me.
No, it comes down to 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road. It comes down to guys who have expiring contracts. That's not necessarily skill. That's just business side of things, age, health, and planning for the future.
Well, it's like if you sign A.J. Brown to a contract, then maybe you can franchise tag Nate Davis if Nate Davis has a good year. But if you don't sign A.J. to a contract, you can't think about franchise tagging Nate Davis because you need that tag for AJ.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you find another guard, and maybe it's not that hard. But again, right tackle, I can't get over the Quessenberry thing. Quessenberry started 17 games last year,
mm-hmm.
and they just let him go for nothing.
Yeah, there is something to say about the fact that when that offensive line, when so many pieces of it were in and out and injured and injured again.
Pro Football Focus freaking loves David Quessenberry.
Yeah, they love David Quessenberry. And your best availability is your best ability is availability. There's something to say about that, but I think that also kind of speaks volumes about what the Titans thought about him if they were willing to let him walk.
TD texts in, tweets in, excuse me. You have to stop with the foolish takes. Cornerback doesn't matter in the league, yet a corner just got a $100 million deal. There will be 2 cornerbacks selected in the top 15 this season. Which team gave $100 million to a corner last week?
I don't remember.
Was it Ward?
Yep.
Cleveland?
Where? Cleveland.
Dumb team.
So, again, you have to have a corner. I'm not saying you don't have to have a corner.
And you are at an advantage when you have a Jalen Ramsey versus a Buster Screen.
But
no disrespect to Buster Screen.
But if you get to the quarterback, I keep going back to the 2008 Titans. They sent 3 guys in the secondary to the Pro Bowl because they had Albert Hainsworth and Kyle Vandenbosch. The next year, they had all the same guys in the secondary, no pass rush, and because Hainsworth went to Washington and Vandenbosch got hurt, and there was nothing. There was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I stand by that. That I believe that you can get by with Buster Screen if you've got a pass rush. And so when it goes to, and again, corner is tomorrow, defense is tomorrow, but I do not believe that cornerback is a premium position. And you can tell me that Denzel Ward just signed for all that money, but safety. I don't think safety is a premium position in the NFL unless you've got Ed Reed or Sean Taylor or one of those guys. And if Deion Sanders is available in this draft, I want Deion at corner. But I don't think safety is a premium position. Washington signed Landon Collins to all that money, and Seattle traded all those picks for Jamal Adams, 2-box safeties, and both those teams haven't won any games since they've made those trades because it's not a premium position. And so tackle, premium position. Pass rusher, and
Premium
that's
position.
Interior or edge rusher. Edge rusher's good, but you get one of those maulers on the inside, those guys, the Albert Hainsworths, Jeffrey Simmons, the Aaron Donalds, those guys can just wreck a game. And so that, to me, if you sack the quarterback, it's a premium position. If you play quarterback, it's a premium position. If you stop the quarterback from getting sacked, it's a premium position. Those are the premium positions to me. Running back, I love Derrick Henry.
Not a premium position.
Not a premium position. So to me, I don't. At
least in the NFL market.
Fulton, Jackson, Molden, Screen, and if Farley comes back, I'm good with it. That's how I feel. 615-737-1025. We'll go back to your phones on this next. 615-737-1025. And boy, the Grizzly fans got mad at me yesterday. Holy crap.
I did see that.
We will get to that. Stillman and Company. It's ESPN 1025 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 5, join us for Jared versus Joe as they debate all of the big topics in sports, presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment and Mayweather Boxing and Fitness on ESPN 1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
from the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
Scattered showers will be with us for the remainder of the afternoon and into the early evening hours. Clouds will gradually clear. We're left with a cool night ahead with lows in the low 50s. Temperatures in the mid-60s on Tuesday. For Fox 17, I'm Chief Meteorologist Katie Morgan.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Bring your hive together with Spirited Hive. It's Hive O'Clock. What is Hive O'Clock? It's connecting or celebrating with your hive. A time to be present and create shared memories. At Spirited Hive, we become aficionados discerning what goes best with bourbon, tequila, and vodka. Bourbon whiskey with rosemary infused with honey and lemon, tequila ginger infused with honey and lime, or vodka cranberry infused with honey and lime. Available to purchase on reservebar.com or tap room for delivery within the hour. Join us at Spirited Hive on Instagram to see what the buzz is all about.
Floyd Mayweather launched Mayweather Boxing and Fitness when he officially retired as a 50-0 champion. Introducing the first Mayweather Boxing and Fitness location in Nashville. Perfect for all fitness levels. Join a community that will help every person unleash their inner champ. Become a founding member today. Stop by the studio at 2041 Broadway, Suite C, or call 629-206-9092 to join the family exclusive. Pre-opening rates now available. Mayweather Boxing and Fitness, the gold standard in boxing fitness.
Let's plan on having concessions over there.
Mike is remodeling the old family drive-in movie theater.
Hey, go find Gavin. Tell him the sound team is here.
He'll need a new front-of-house cast and behind-the-scenes crew.
Hey, can we talk staffing real quick? I'm thinking at least 6 per shift.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Our hiring platform instantly connects you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Everyone loves shopping online. Well, I'm going to tell you what I tell my golf buddies when they buy clubs. Stop searching for coupon codes. Download Capital One Shopping to your computer. Capital One Shopping instantly searches for available coupon codes and automatically applies them at checkout. Plus, it's free, and you don't even need a Capital One card to use it. That's like hitting a hole-in-one without even trying. Capital One Shopping. It's kind of genius. What's in your wallet?
Savings and available coupons vary.
Darren McFarland.
That should get you in the mood for a game tonight.
Willie Donick.
I think between 5.5 and 6 is probably in the ballpark.
Chase McCabe.
Typically, I like to take the most difficult task and do it first.
Darren, Donick, and Chase have you covered weekdays from 10 to 2 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
You're listening to Stillman and Company, delivered by TriStar Moving.
When you look at these receivers, right, they're big guys and small guys, how do you weigh that? I mean, you look at your group of receivers now, a lot of them are primarily bigger guys. How do you weigh, evaluate them?
I think you look at opportunities and production, how they catch the ball, how they protect the ball, their willingness to block. Some schools don't ask them to go in there and block. Some of them are running routes, are running, RPOs or relief routes and trying to pull out defenders that way. What routes have they asked them to run, right? Some guys, it's like, well, he doesn't run it. Well, they probably only have 12 or 14 plays, or they're not running that much of a route tree. How much can he understand and explain about coverage? I think those are all ways that we identify how they play without the ball, how they play with the ball. Are they tough to tackle? Is this a player that's got really good play strength? Can they play inside? Can they return punts? There's a lot of things that we look at.
There you go. That was Vrabel on the draft. And, again, now TD's and I are kind of getting into it on Twitter about the cornerback position.
Uh-huh.
I think corner, the rules have devalued the corner position.
Well, and you and I were talking off air. The reason why the Rams' defense is so good is because of Aaron Donald.
And Leonard Floyd and
And
Von Miller. And
having Jalen Ramsey on your team doesn't make you worse. You definitely feel more confident going up against the Jamar Chases of the NFL whenever you do have a corner in Jalen Ramsey that can keep up with these speedy wide receivers.
Remember who made the play that sealed the Titans-Bengals game?
I don't know.
Eli Apple.
Oh, and Eli Apple is the biggest bum in the NFL.
Sucks.
I cannot stand
Eli Apple freaking sucks.
He is a bum.
And so, that again, corner 8 years ago, premium position. Today, not a premium position. You know what wasn't a premium position that is a premium position today?
Tackle.
Right tackle. Left tackle's always been a premium position. But it used to be left tackles, $15 million, right tackles, $5 million. Now it's left tackles, $24 million, right tackles, $18 million. And I just think that eventually the rest of the league will catch up to the inefficiency of corners. The need for pass rusher will continue to go up. And, I mean, I'm trying to think, Trayvon Diggs is a really good corner at Dallas. And yet, how many games did Trayvon Diggs win the Cowboys?
I don't know.
They played the Patriots, and on one play, he intercepted a pick six. You thought they were going to beat the Patriots. On the next play, he gets burned for a touchdown. And a lot of this with the quarterback, Mac Jones. Mac Jones didn't have a great season throwing the football this past year. But when he played you and everybody was hurt, and he just stood back in the pocket and patted the football the whole day, Mac Jones threw for 350 yards against Titans. Well, when you go get after Mac Jones ain't going to throw for 350 yards now. So that's just the way I view it. I mean, I don't Jalen Ramsey got burned for a touchdown on the last play of the Buccaneers game. They won that game because their corners ran the wrong play, and Cooper Kupp just ran up the field unguarded. So, again, I view corner as every position you have to have a good player. You want to have a good player.
Right.
You need to have a good guard. If you don't have good guards, you get 9 sacks and 7 sacks in playoff games. But if guard is not a premium position, which is why the Titans just cut a left guard who made the Pro Bowl. Let's go back to your phones.
One texter texts in and says, TD from the top rope, I was thinking the same thing. You always go overboard, and remember that Floyd always says you can never have too many good corners.
Right, but again, I'm trying to go through this. The Bengals corners last year were all just guys.
They're guys.
They were guys. There was, Mike Hilton? He was from the Steelers. Wasn't a big free agent pickup. He was there. There was Eli Apple, who's been on 10 teams since he was drafted. Who was the other? Chidobe Awuzie from the Cowboys. And Awuzie is a fine player. He's fine. Guess what? Not one of those guys can cover A.J. Brown. Not one of them. And none of your corners can cover Jamar Chase. So what do? You sacked a guy 9 times. That's how you win in the NFL today.
Or one team's quarterback throws 3 interceptions.
3 interceptions. But that's what you do. There's one play. Fulton is the best corner on the Titans, right?
Yeah.
There's one play, matched up man for man. How many times do you think Christian Fulton in his life has been matched up man for man with Jamar Chase?
Probably more so than any other corner.
How many times has Joe Burrow seen Christian Fulton man for man with Jamar Chase in his life? Hundreds of times. Okay. 12 seconds on the play clock. I'm sitting there looking at that one play we all remember in the Bengals game, and I see Joe, and I see Chase man for man. I turn to my buddy Greg Prince, who I go to most of the Titans and Prince. I said, look, man for man, Chase and Fulton. Burrow.
He knows exactly where he's going.
Now, they had a couple delay of games, so I'm looking up at the clock now to see if he's about to get another delay of game, because normally when you want that ball snap, it's 12 seconds. He saw the same thing I saw. These guys, you can't touch these receivers anymore. It used to be when the Patriots, the Vrabel Patriots, would play Manning and the Colts, they just beat the crap out of Harrison and Wayne and Clark, and they just beat the crap out of them. Like Rodney Harrison, just, clothesline the guy, the end. You can't do that anymore. So the game has changed. So corner is not as important, and because the premium is now on edge rushers, in my opinion, the premium is on edge rushers, right tackle has become a more important position. That's just my take on it. What else we got?
Another texter texts in and says, if the Titans truly are a running team, then why did they let Foreman walk?
Don't get me
I think that's a question that we've all been asking ourselves for quite some time now.
TD's texted me and said, Mike Hilton is the best nickel in the corner. Also, the Bengals didn't have a top-level pass rusher. I mean, Trey Henderson's pretty good.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that whole group, like Hubbard, and now the Titans have to play Ogunjobi, and I actually thought Ogunjobi was pretty good. But, I mean, Hendrickson went to the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
And so, all right, I got to talk about these Grizzlies fans for a second. So I sent out a tweet after the Memphis game on Saturday night. And there's something that I've had to say many a times in my life about the NBA, and I've really said this a lot on Sirius, which is I don't need the basketball heads coming at me saying, you didn't watch regular season. Nobody watches regular season basketball.
Basketball people do.
But they don't count. Like, America does not watch regular season basketball. All these guys are all rich, every single one of them. And all the good players are rich. They're all famous. They can all get as many girls as they want. They can all date Kardashians. They can all do whatever they want. The difference between Kobe Bryant and Tracy McGrady is winning in the playoffs. That's the difference. When you talk about the greatest players of the eras, you got, Larry and Magic and Michael and Kobe and Shaq and Duncan and Steph and LeBron, and they all win. So I tweeted out after the game the other day, John Morant didn't have a good game, but I tweeted out that, John needs a better supporting cast. And all these people were like, you didn't watch the Grizzlies this year. Desmond Bain and Dylan Brooks and Jaren Jackson are. Let me start with this. One, I didn't watch the Grizzlies a lot this year because it's regular season basketball. Because, again, we watched the playoffs. We watched the NCAA tournament. You want to be great? Steph Curry, NCAA tournament at Davidson, that got everybody's attention. I didn't watch a single Davidson game before that. I walked away from that saying, that dude can ball. Secondly, John Morant got the rebound, came down the floor, got his guy a wide-open shot to tie the game, and he missed it. And at the end of the day, you got to make those shots. I don't care how many points your teammates score during the third quarter. It ain't about that. It's about, can Michael Jordan rely on Steve Kerr to make the big shot to win Game 6 of the 97 finals? John Morant tried. Tyus Jones missed. John Morant needs a Scottie Pippen. He doesn't need a guy that can shoot threes. He doesn't need a guy who can play defense. He needs a second-tier, number one guy that can do it all like Pippen. He needs a Robin, just like how Jason Tatum has Jaylen Brown. So there you go. Basketball fans, I've now responded there. That's it for us. Preds Insiders, Robby, boy, the Predators got to get it turned around. That's next. Stillman and Company, we'll see you all tomorrow.